All right, there we go. Yes, we're live. Sup, ladies and gentlemen, Ackle on your end. Welcome back to each and one of you. Of course, if you're watching this over on YouTube, remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It does help out the channel a ton. And of course, you're always welcome to come join us over on Twitch, where the magic happens, so to speak. It really is where the magic happens. I'm not even lying to you. This is where everything goes down, if you will. Let me just make sure that I've got everything set up the way that I want, and that we're not missing anything. We're just waiting for the notifications to go through from Twitch, and then I can send out the notifications on Discord, and then we should be good. But I also have videos that needs to go live, which is a fucking nightmare. Yeah, I think this is the next video. Yes. All right, we'll make this one live today, and then we'll just fucking roll with the punches, I suppose. All right, that one's live, and we have notification liftoff. This is great. All right, so notifications have gone out. Let me just switch back to this account, which is what I want. Julster, how you doing, brother? Sorry about being focused on my phone here. I'm literally jumping between apps, trying to get everything sorted, making sure that everything works. Morny, how you doing, bro? I'm sore as fuck, quite frankly. I'm doing well. I'm tired a little bit, and I'm very sore. Like, very sore. Mikimoto, Jack Grover, how you guys doing? All right, you have my undivided attention, ladies and gentlemen. Let's fucking do this. Elodie, how you doing, brother? This early? Hey, we're starting to stream earlier and earlier. At this rate, we'll be live at like fucking 5 a.m. No, we won't be doing that. But yes, we're going live earlier and earlier because I have gym in the evenings. So at 8 a.m., at 8 p.m. in the evenings, I go to the gym. So I can't really start my normal time because then we'll only have like 2 hours to stream. So yeah, that's basically how it works. Useless Israel, how you doing, brother? 24-hour streams, Inc. Hey, we can fucking try that. Never share. Thank you for the follow. Really fucking appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. Foul Smoke, how you doing, brother? Fuck, my back is sore. Not sore as in normal pains, just from the gym yesterday. I did a couple of new exercises, things that I haven't done in years. And I've discovered muscles I did not know exist. It's been crazy. I've been following this channel since pre-Shadowlands when I first discovered you. Whoa, Nevershare. Thank you very much for the follow, dude. Really appreciate that. Coming in your heart, and since literally Shadowlands. Really appreciate that, bro. Welcome. Happy to have you here. Kajeji, or Kagaj? I don't know exactly how to pronounce your name, but thank you so much for the Prime sub, dude. Really fucking appreciate that. 4 months in a row. Thank you. Yuka, how you doing, bro? Very happy to have you here, Nevershare. I hope that you're gonna like it. I hope that you'll enjoy the live streams. The live streams is very different to everything else that we do. I have to be honest. I got a dog right around then, and every morning I walk him listening to your vids. Now I heavily associate that area. I used to walk him with your videos. Is it a nice area at least? Yuka, probably within the next like hour or so, we're just gonna have a quick discussion about some WoW stuff, and then we can play some Final Fantasy. I didn't touch Final Fantasy last night after I went off. Kagai is normally how I said. All right, Kagai, thank you for the Prime sub, man. Really fucking appreciate that. Your support is very much appreciated. Scrappy Coco, how you doing, bro? Morgana Cinematic, I did. And it is one of the things we'll be talking about tonight, or this afternoon. I have seen the new one, and there's some very interesting things in that new cinematic. Do you prefer a Twitch up or a YouTube member thing? Nevershare, really, it's up to you. If we go by preference alone, Patreon, just because Patreon only takes 5% of the money that's given there. Plus, you get a podcast and you get some behind-the-scenes videos there. But in terms of what I think you get back, I think Twitch is better. Just because you get all of the emotes, you know, you're part of the community. So it really is up to you. You throw wherever you feel most comfortable and wherever you want to support. And I'm always fucking grateful for the support. Since YouTube membership, Twitch subs, and Patreon all goes towards the editors, Alex and Apocalypse. You know, it doesn't really matter. Wherever people give it, that's fine. It all goes to support Alex, and eventually, if we get more money on these platforms, we'll get another editor, and I'll slowly start building my gaming studio, which is the plan. Aka Weeb confirmed. This proves that only weebs would play Final Fantasy. Julster, literally, how in the fuck am I a weeb? Explain this. Explain your reasoning for believing that I'm a weeb. Can't care less about emotes, would rather you just get the money. Never share, again, wherever you feel most comfortable. I'm open to everywhere. I genuinely don't mind. I just want people to enjoy the content, really. So I appreciate whenever someone thinks, hey, I'm willing to give this guy real money. That's a big thing for me. So really, wherever. Playing Final makes you automatically a weeb? How? It is a normal MMO, right? Yes, there's weeb stuff in the MMO, but the truth is, so is there in WoW. There's weeb stuff in WoW too. You've got the fucking Valpyra. If that's not weeb, I don't know what is. Jake, how you doing, bro? Unforgive One, how you doing, brother? Somebody echo, I love Final Fantasy and WoW. I've fallen in love with Final Fantasy. Playing a weeb game like Final Fantasy, that's how. But bro, it's a good game. I'm not going to sit here and knock it. It's a good game. It is. It really is a fucking good game. So about the cinematic, Anduin still looks like a Death Knight. Bolvar is a Death Knight reunification, just as they were in Classic. Kali, which cinematic are you referring to right now? Because there's a couple of new cinematics. If you're talking about the cinematic where Anduin is sort of standing there and there's light, the light flowing out of his eyes, the same as it did with Arthas. I'm genuinely not going to make videos on that cinematic yet. I'm not really going to speculate on that cinematic yet because I want to know what are they saying in that cinematic. I want the exact words of that cinematic because it appears as if Anduin and Sylvanas is in conversation with one another. Now, one would argue if Anduin truly was being dominated, would Anduin not just be saying whatever the fucking jailer is saying? So would Sylvanas not be in conversation with the jailer rather than in conversation with Anduin, right? I played Dark Souls and it came from Japan designers. Does that make me a weeb? I don't think so. Dark Souls is a pretty non-weeb game. When do you think we are going to actually do something about the huge sword and Azeroth? Scrappy, we were told that something is going to happen with that sword, but considering how behind schedule Shadowlands is, there's a real chance that Blizzard's just going to give up on that. Same way they did with the cannon in BFA. We were promised that the cannon will be fired before the end of the expansion, and it never got fired. Just never fucking happened. Never share. Thank you so much for $10, dude. Really fucking appreciate that.
Should have donated while ago.
Really appreciate the donation, dude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. JC, how you doing, bro? The guy who said they probably got fired, though? No, it was, oh man, I fucking struggle with his name. What was his name again? He's got black hair. He's very much into the lore. Alex Freezy Hobby. There we go. That fucking name, dude. Like, Alex Bart's fine, but the surname? I don't know how you pronounce that surname. Morning from Lily and myself, Swatfish and Lily. Happy to have you guys here. How you guys doing? I mean, I don't think he got fired. I do think he left the company, but he wasn't fired. He just fucking left, I think. Drennan, how you doing? Afrizziabi. It's a fucking horrible surname. He should really change it. No, ain't no one gonna fucking say that name right. I Echo can't watch the whole stream, cracking down on phones at work, but I'm here when I can. Oh, Enoch, why? Why are they cracking down on phones at work? Enoch, by the way, I just saw your message, your DM on Discord. I didn't play any Final Fantasy last night. By the time you messaged me, I was fucking flat out, dude. I am so sore from the gym. It's unreal. Lodero, how you doing, bro? Thank you very much for the first time chat. Really appreciate that. Hope you're fully over COVID now and still waiting on Cooking with Akko videos or streams. And forgive one, I am fully over COVID. I basically got sick for 2 days and then that was it. My brother, who literally lives in the same house as me, didn't even get sick. He just, I'm assuming he just showed no signs, like literally asymptomatic. But like I said already, I took the miracle drug, the one that everyone wants to pretend doesn't exist. But that shit is fucking unreal. Like, basically, it's the worst medication you can fucking take, but apparently it destroys COVID. And in me, at least, it did. Like, I have the antibodies, so I did have COVID, but I was out for 2 days, very fucking ill for 2 days, and then it was gone. Am I liking Final Fantasy so far? I am absolutely loving it, Liliana. It's insane. It's such a good game. The way they present the story to you, everything it really goes from strength to strength. B-Rod, thank you very much for the follow, dude. Really fucking appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Still waiting on Hot Tub? Yeah, sure. There's never going to be a Hot Tub stream. You can literally, right, suck my dick, because it's never going to happen. Never. Look, I'm being very fucking honest when I tell you none of you want to see me without my shirt. This is not me being facetious. This is not me trying to be funny. That's a sight that you do not want to see. So unless I'm going into the hot tub like in a full bodysuit, it's just not going to happen. I'm not going to fucking do that. What is this miracle cure? I'm trying to remember its name. It's actually medication that's given to cows. It's a vaccination for cows, for cattle, right? But they've discovered that, and this is not just like some people's discovered this. My dad's a medical doctor, and he gives it. He gives it to his patients whenever they get COVID, because there's like 20 labs all throughout the world that has tasted this drug, ivermectin, I think it's called. That's the one. I think it's called ivermectin. There's like labs across the world that's been talking about this drug, because what it seems to do is if you take it early enough, it destroys COVID. Like, you get it, it's done, 2 days, it fucking destroys the virus. Yet no one wants to listen. Everyone's just like, no, that's not a drug. We're not going to even look at that drug. And the evidence keeps mounting that, hey, this drug really fucking works. I can only speak for myself, and that's really, it's worth nothing, because it's, what kind of evidence is the word of one man? But I was sick for 2 days and then I got better. By the 5th day, I was perfectly fine. By the way, Freezy RB did leave Blizzard in 2020. Elodie, yes. But I don't think he got fired. Glad to hear it. Going to resub myself soon here. Getting the MMO bug again. I love the crafting. Feels rewarding. I've not done any of the crafting in Final Fantasy. I've not touched the crafting, but I've heard that it's really good. Companies don't want us to get well. Keep us hooked on meds. Hey, personally, I'm a fan of most pharmaceutical companies because they give us the nice drugs that don't keep us sick for long. So I'm not going to say anything bad about the pharmaceutical industry. I genuinely have no issue with them. There's some things that I think should change around the laws that govern them. For example, the fact that you can't sue most of them. If they make vaccines, you can't fucking sue them, even if that vaccine ends up fucking you over. So those are things that I think should change. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. That's because they want to make money. Having a cure already is not profitable. See, that's another thing that I think should actually be changed. That's another thing that I don't think should exist. The crafting Final Fantasy is like its own minigame. I've heard that it's like almost its own class, if you will. I'm ex-military, 38 years old, and I reached for my shoe and threw out my back. I've been bedbound for 3 days. Your videos are a lifesaver. Draythar, I'm so fucking sorry that happened. First and foremost, thank you so much for your service. Really appreciate that. Even though I live in South Africa and your military doesn't do anything directly for me, I still applaud anyone that has the guts to do that, because I fucking wouldn't. And I'm really glad that my videos can give you some escape, because I know what back problems are like. Before I started going to the gym, I had chronic back issues. I was always in pain. Now, I'm just in pain because of the gym. Like, my chronic back issues have been fixed. But the gym still leaves me in a lot of pain. Craft and gathering in Final Fantasy, I can't wrap my head around. So different than WoW. I mean, I have to change my weapon just to do them. The act of swapping weapons to swap class was something I struggled with as a long-time WoW player. Now I really enjoy it. Swole Echo. I don't know if I'm ever going to be Swole Echo. But just on that point from both of Givwan and Lilianda, there's so much in Final Fantasy that I wish World of Warcraft would start embracing. Point of fact, the class system for Final Fantasy is absolutely brilliant. The whole leveling process for your class, you constantly feel stronger. The fact that every single ability that you gain, or big ability that you gain for your class, comes from a quest, right? So you do this whole quest chain and you discover abilities through it. So you actually feel very much in control of your class. You feel as if you're progressing, you're doing things to get stronger. For example, I'm a paladin, and in order to unlock more paladin abilities, I constantly have these quests every couple of levels that I have to go do. It's not necessarily long quests, but it is quests that really take you in a myriad of directions, and you feel stronger afterwards. Miss Emma, for my back injury, and I wish there was a mate that would help outside addicting ones. I've heard a lot of people in some serious back issues. All I can tell you is small exercises, like anything that strengthens your abdomen, is going to be a good way to do it. It was so random. I knew I had a bulging disc, but it dropped me like a sack of potatoes. Take care of your backs, people. Oh yeah, back problems is sudden, and when it hits, it's a fucking nightmare. So when do you think we will get Final Fantasy lore speculation? As soon as I'm done with the game. There's no point in, like, right now, if I start speculating on something, people will just come in and say, bro, clearly you haven't played the whole game because it's explained in this expansion. So once I finish the game and I know all of the lore, I will likely be willing to dive into some speculation on it. There's no books and stuff, right? Why, Akko? Come on, do it. Don't be a pussy. I would volunteer for the military because I'm not a pussy like you. Joser, I'm a pussy. I love guns. I love shooting. I don't want to be shot at. I prefer the part where I shoot at things that can't shoot back at me. If as soon as some things can shoot back at me, I don't like that dynamic. Because unlike in a video game, there's no reload. There's no do-over. If I get fucking clipped, I'm done, right? That's it. You're shot now. Go sit down somewhere in either heaven or hell. I don't want to do that. I don't want to experience that. Plus, I think the discipline thing is a bit harsh for me. I would really struggle with the whole waking up very early, doing all those fucking rigorous tasks and stuff that people in the military have to do. So it's just not my thing. I am very happy to admit I am a pussy. I will not join the military. I've been playing Scholar. Really need healing class. I've been just Paladin, but I want to switch to Dark Knight. I've heard good things about the Dark Knight. The class quests in Final Fantasy are kind of like what used to be in WoW with Classic. Doing quests for your class, like Warlock Pets. Adam, I would say it's even better than that. I would actually put it equal to that of Yes Classic combined with class order rolls. Because it's an entire story on its own. Lots of problems come from opposing muscle groups. Strengthening the core strengthens the back. Just like inactivity causes one muscle group to be constantly contracted, where the opposing muscle group is constantly at rest. They legit have a condition called dead butt, and it affects your walking balance. Are you serious? What the fuck happens? How do you get dead butt? Minion, how you doing, bro? Did you hear about the other new whispers? Not the statue ones? No. Which ones? There's nothing new on WoW, Ed. At least there wasn't before I started the stream. I tried to do it with my hot bunny girl, Retainer, but no dice. She just giggles at me. Oh. Unforgiven, and I'm... What exactly does your fucking sentence mean? Could you explain your sentence in a little bit more detail? In the Final Fantasy, but actually the first fantasy? Fucking. If you want to sex people, just go to Ul'dah on the Balming server. My god. Why would people do that in video games? I would like most if I played Final Fantasy. I'm gonna try Dark Knight and see how it turns out, Morny. Because Dark Knight, it just sounds cool. Dark Knight. But I also want to try Gunblade. Is it Gunblade? Well, what's that? What's the class where the blades is sort of a gun thing? Because that looks cool as well. Mikimoto, yes. But I would bring back class order holes from level 1. So if we... Sorry to change the subject to backs. Grethar, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it, man. This stream, by the way, jumps all over the place. If you stick around for a while, you'll find that we discuss politics, we discuss life, we discuss psychology, we discuss aliens, conspiracy theories, economy, gaming. There's literally, I don't know what to fucking do. Chat takes the conversation literally all over the place. Cooking, food, hot chicks. Everything gets discussed here. The one thing we don't really discuss is hot guys, because I have nothing to add to the conversation. Midgets, as well, gets discussed quite often here, which is sad but true. You might end up pulling me into the game. Let me know what you think of Dark Knight, man. Moni, I will definitely do so. Just wait till we get to Nazi theories. Oh, the Nazi theories were fucking amazing. I mean, the Nazi theories still blow my own fucking mind, dude. Like, I'll be honest with you guys. I am obsessed with the entire Second World War, everything that Hitler did. I, for example, read Mein Kampf years ago. I was young. I was like 18 or 19. I read Mein Kampf. I was obsessed with everything. Second World War, First World War, how it all played out. So learning more and more about the sort of conspiracy theories about the Nazis is just fascinating. Was it a good book? Outside of the, I would say, incredible logical jumps, it was an interesting book. Not a good book, but it was an interesting book. It was interesting to see his mind, to understand that while to me he's a crazy fuck that really no one should listen to, his justifications for some of the things he did was interesting. So you kind of have to read it without the whole good, bad, evil shit, right? You don't look at him as evil. You just look at it as, what is this guy explaining? What is his ideas, and why does he believe in his ideas? So one of the reasons his hatred for Jews existed was because of what the Jews did to the Germans after the First World War. The Jews basically excluded Germans from the job market, from any sort of market. Jewish shops would have different prices depending on whether you're a Jew or a German. If you were a Jew, you would get like half price for bread, whereas if you were German, you would be charged double for bread. So these things fueled his hatred for the Jewish people, and it actually eventually became, this is actually very interesting. Hitler didn't just hate the Jews, they disgusted him. Like, literally, physically, he was disgusted by them. It was a disgusting thing for him. Like, imagining them, he literally saw them as rats, as things that should not exist on this planet. So he's a crazy fuck. Don't be mistaken. But Mein Kampf was an interesting read. Luna, how you doing? Everything occult science, and yes, they were obsessed with the occult, with magic, with science, with UFOs. It was insane. Tired, so I'm going to sleep. Bye. Sleep well, Luna. Thanks for stopping by. Mein Kampf read like a preteen girl's diary. Mein Kampf was weird, but it is the diaries of a madman, quite frankly. But definitely worth the read. I like reading everything and anything. More so crazy people. I really enjoy crazy people. I don't know, they make for the most interesting human beings. For example, if you guys could have dinner with anyone from history, who would you have dinner with? spoiler alert, I would have dinner with Hitler. Not because I like the guy, but I would love to ask him, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, what happened? Does that prove anything, Rhino's Day? I would like to ask him, are you a fucking, like, at which point did things go so wrong for you? Like, when did you decide, fuck it, I just hate everyone, I'm gonna kill everything? Crowley would be another very interesting one. You're talking about Aleister Crowley, right? Basically the founder of Satanism. Scrappy. Is that who you're talking about? Or are you talking about a different Crowley? I enjoy trying to reverse engineer the psychopath. It's always interesting to do. Just like Savannah, she is WoW's Hitler, yet you support and sim for her, Akko. How could you should be so ashamed of yourself? Savannah isn't Hitler. He was rich and an occultist. Rasputin, that guy survived poison, stabbing, shot, etc. Aleister Crowley would be another. Do you guys realize that Aleister Crowley, I can't remember exactly how it translates to it, but that wasn't his original name. The guy who invented Satanism. He was the founder of the Church of Satan, Aleister Crowley. He believed some crazy shit as well, just FYI. There are some things that Aleister Crowley believed that was absolutely fucking nuts. But he changed his name. Aleister wasn't his real name. Crowley wasn't his real surname. But it translates to 666 in some, I think, esoteric language or some shit like that. Real name, Edward Alexander Crowley. Something to that effect. But his name translates to 666. And I don't remember how. This was years ago that I actually read about him. So I forgot most of that. Garrosh is more like Hitler than Sylvanas. Sylvanas she's up to something. The question is what, right? Paracelsus would be a fascinating dinner guest. Who's that again? Oh, you know who else would be very, very interesting to have over for dinner? Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great would also be a very fascinating dinner guest. I would literally just ask him, at which point did you feel it was enough? Why did you have to keep going? You left everything? You left your entire country to basically fend for itself as you went off warring? Like, what was the fucking point? Jules, the problem with your argument is what atrocities? She burnt a tree while at war. I don't see how that makes her Hitler. Old alchemist who wrote some crazy neat journals. Ooh. What's the journal say, Swat? So what's your best guess at what bad thing is going to happen based on Terran's tweet yesterday? Something's going to happen to Sylvanas. I just feel it in my fucking bones, dude. I don't know why, but I feel like something is going to happen to Sylvanas, and I hate it. I think Crowley is one of the most weird people, but most interesting people I've ever done research on. The Book of the Law is an odd read, but it's hard to understand. Took me about 3 times to kind of understand it. Herodotus would be great. Could ask him what was bullshit of his and what wasn't. I would love to have dinner with basically the Stoics as well. Like the original Stoics would be an interesting dinner guest as well. Do you guys know, I can't remember his name, but there was an ancient Roman Stoic, right? This was one of the high generals, also very big on the Stoicism. He would, in a restaurant, order soup, right? And then he would take his face and shove it into the bowl and eat the soup as if he was a dog. And he would do this in front of everyone. Like at a public place, he would do this for no other reason than to overcome the self. For him, the idea of ridiculing yourself in public removed the self, and therefore you were free to do other things because you were already laughed at, you looked silly, People thought you were stupid, so you had nothing to hide anymore, right? That wasn't... No. Marcus Aurelius was also a Stoic, but he wasn't the guy who did this. Marcus Aurelius would also be one of my favorite dinner guests, just because of how he believed things should be. He was, for example, the kind of Stoic that, whilst everyone around him would have multiple mates and multiple sexual partners, and, you know, things were a bit more free those days, he believed that that was wrong. He believed that giving in to the sins of the flesh, the sort of needs of the flesh, actually led to darker and darker, more unhappiness. So he believed in you should control yourself. Used to be Zeno. It could have been Zeno. I'm not entirely sure, Andy. But one of the high generals and one of the staunch Stoics that we today, I believe there's actual books and quotes and stuff of his out there. But he used to do this, where he would sit at a restaurant and just plunge his fucking entire face into soup. Giant Rat Guy, thank you so much on something. Really fucking appreciate that. 7 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. As far as I know, though, Nevershare, Stoicism survived the Greek Empire and moved into the Roman Empire. So, Stoicism existed in both, as far as I know. So, you know, it could be either or. I mean, Stoicism exists to this day. There's many people that believe that one of the biggest mistakes we've made to date with young people and with education is not teaching Stoicism in schools. Not teaching kids. Because, personally, I'm not a Stoic, but I love their philosophies. So, Stoics actually believe that life is suffering. It is just suffering. You should not expect life to be good. Your job is to suffer through it and suffer as well as humanly possible through it. That's the only job you have. And there's actually a famous quote, and I'm going to butcher this quote because I can't remember it word for word, that says, do anything, right? It'll work out. Like, just do anything, do everything. It'll all work out. And if it doesn't, there's always the wrists. You could always turn over your wrists. That was the end of the quote. So you can do anything and everything will work out. And if it doesn't work out, if the things that you tried failed, you can always turn over your wrist. The Stoics actually believed suicide is a noble out. Like, if you genuinely can't fix your situation, if you genuinely can't handle life, then just end it. There's no point in going. There's no point in trying to fight something that you've already lost. Would you rather have dinner with a predator or a xenomorph? Predator minion. The younger seems the most similar to who you're describing. Icario, how you doing? It's difficult to remember everyone. I have, like, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. I have lots of bits and pieces of information in my head about lots of different topics, but I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm an expert on any of those topics except for game lore and gaming, most likely. That would be the only expert that I would consider myself to be. Everything else is just stuff that I really fucking like. And I'll read about it and I'll go through phases where this thing interests the shit out of me. Dinner with Nero. Nero, he was a Roman emperor, right? He's actually one of the most famous Roman empires, except for Julius Caesar. No, if I'm gonna have dinner with any Roman emperor, it would be Constantine, not Nero. Constantine would be far interesting as far as I'm concerned. Nero had his interests, and you're right, I just remembered the guy who burnt down Rome. The guy who was absolutely, like, fucking out of his mind. But I would actually have with Constantine, because Constantine, as far as I'm concerned, is why? I mean, his move to accept Christianity as the main religion, or one of the main religions within Rome, first of all, stopped a massive war from breaking out, but also led to Christianity being the largest religion in the world. Right? And by a long shot. Christianity, I think the one that comes closest is Islam, and it's not even close. There's like 3.4 or 3.5 billion Christians throughout the world, and like 2.3 or 2.4 billion Muslims throughout the world. So he's one decision. Constantine's one decision to accept Christianity led to Christianity basically running like a wildfire throughout the world. So I would love to know why. Why did he see this as a necessity? You feed you to Piranha Pool? You think so? I wasn't paying attention. Are you saying the jailer converted to Christianity? Trollfang, it's possible. Although, if he did convert to Christianity, he'd probably not want to bring the whole system down. Charles Manson is just crazy, though. For the Greeks? Fuck the Greeks, Giant Rat Guy. No one cares. You and the Greeks can go stay on your little island and eat olives. Nevershare, what do you know? What do you know that we don't? I'd love to hear it. I'm not familiar with that. Run a thing. What have the Greeks ever given us, Giant Rat Guy? Let's be honest. What have the Greeks done to better our world? Which, bro, when I'm stuck in a shit country, Canada? As a Greek, I confirm. Fuck the Greeks. Joker, I don't actually mind the Greeks, but when Giant Rat Guy speaks, it's my, it's really my duty to bash the Greeks. I don't have a choice. As soon as Giant Rat Guy opens his mouth, I have to put on my hate the Greeks cap and just spew as much hatred as humanly possible. And then when Giant Rat Guy stops speaking, I love the Greeks. They're fine. I don't know much about the Greeks, but, you know, they're fine people. Their country seems great. When you do it, Akko, I know, Giant Rat Guy. Ultra is the idea that the CIA drugged American citizens in an attempt to mind control with hallucinogens. It's said here that he may have been drugged into madness. I mean, he was just fucking crazy. The secret command? What secret command? Oh. Is that a secret command, though? Wasn't there a Greek guy who ended every one of his speeches with, and also, Carthage must burn? What was Carthage? You would be crazy too if you were given unlimited amounts of LSD. So we're blaming his craziness on LSD. I don't know. He was just a fucking psychopath. I don't know if LSD would actually induce psychopathy. Do we know if that's the case? Has there been any studies that prove that even copious amounts of LSD would induce psychopathy? Or even psychosis, for that matter. Like, would it even if we don't say that you're a psychopath, would it actually induce psychosis? 20th century psychedelic? Don't you want Anduin to fucking die, but die hard and make the new king that blind fanatic fanboy of the light? No, I don't want Anduin to die. His story is just getting good. Why would I want him dead? There's a point that it'll basically stay in the brain. I suppose, but would it actually turn you into a fucking killer? Of Greece, way back in the day? Now, psychedelics are shown to do exactly the opposite, increased emotional activity. Yeah, but if you're getting too much of it, wouldn't that fuck you up? Just a crazy fuck. There was no MK anything with him. That dude was just born in an Acme warehouse. If you give someone enough of any hallucinogen, you can inject thoughts and ideals into them they didn't naturally have. I mean, to be fair, I think we can all agree. Is there anyone in this chat that doesn't believe that there's a shadow organization or a shadowy part of the US government that has done some really fucking questionable shit? And this is not a partisan political thing. I'm talking about people that you don't even vote for. So don't worry about who the president is. Think about deeper. People that you have no say over. Is there anyone in this chat that thinks, nah, the US government's great. They love us? Constantinople is a great city of that Constantine built. Anunnaki, yo, fucking reptilians gonna take over the world, bro. I actually do like that theory. Even though I don't believe it, I do like the theory. So here's why I believe that there is such a thing as the deep state. Think about every president in the last 50 years. And how much have they actually accomplished of the things that they set out to accomplish? Right? Think about all of the the promises that presidents make, right? Think about every single one of them. A very recent example would be Trump. And I know a lot of people hate Trump. I don't give a fuck how you feel about the guy. I have no opinions on the guy either way. But Trump wanted to pull out the troops from the Middle East. He gave the order that the troops should be pulled from the Middle East. When he stepped out of office, we were informed that the military they just went on override. They just went, nah, we're not going to pull the troops. Instead, we're going to lie to the commander-in-chief about how many troops we still have left in the Middle East. Now, regardless, again, of your feelings of who the guy is in the office, the point of the president being called the commander-in-chief is so that there is a civilian government in control of the military. When the military have the ability to override the orders of the commander-in-chief without anyone being fired. Without anyone being fired. What the fuck is going on? How is the entire military not sacked for that move? And Swatfish, I know, it's crazy how many people just really want the war to stop and the war just never stops. Everyone promises it. Obama promised that he's going to end the war. Obama had more war than Bush. Like, they invaded more countries. Bush invaded 2. Obama invaded 6. So, you know, they make these promises, and these promises never come to fruition. And I genuinely believe that Barack Obama wanted to end the war. I don't think he lied. I don't think Barack Obama stood in 2008 and said, let's end the wars, let's lie to them here, and then we'll do whatever the fuck we want in the White House. I think when he got into the White House, he realized it's not actually up to me. I don't get to make this call of ending the war. It's up to whoever the fucking boss is, whoever the big guys is. And it was actually, I think it was actually, was it JFK? I think it was JFK that warned that the military-industrial complex is going to destroy the US. I think that was his warning. And it was after he got into power. He actually he said this is a big issue and we're going to lose control of the military-industrial complex. The only thing I can tell you is if you vote, this is just my opinion, by the way. Any of you can disagree as much as you fucking want with this. But if you vote, you actually can't complain. You are actually not allowed to complain. If you've cast your vote for any person, it doesn't matter whether your guy got in or not, you don't have the right to complain. You've hired your lawyer. Your lawyer is either in office or he isn't in office, and you have to just go with whatever your lawyer says. I don't vote. So basically, I'm getting fucked by everyone that votes because I don't want this system. I think this system is stupid and it should end. But everyone else seems to think that this is a great system. Let's keep getting fucked by the man up top. When you sell the bullets and the bandages, why would you want to stop war? Swapfish, that's actually a very good fucking saying. Yeah, I don't vote either. This system is completely fucking horrendous. Ideological question for you. Where does blame start and end in war? Should the soldiers be manned? Who manned the chambers be held responsible? Only the command structure. Benji, there is an issue with soldiers in general, especially soldiers who do not ask questions. However, one could argue that when you go into the military, you are basically taught from the very beginning that you do not ask questions. You accept what your command tells you. And in that regard, we have ample evidence from psychological studies that people do not question when orders are given, right? So I would say command comes first, but I would go even higher than that. I would go to the people that actually initiated the war in the first place, right? Yeah, they literally break you and then rebuild you, right? So they first break you down and then they rebuild you from the ground up. So can you really blame the soldier for the things that he or she has done? I don't think so, because in any other regard, let's imagine this. That exact same soldier, if someone invaded your country, would fight tooth and nail to keep you safe, right? If that was the order that was given, they would fight to keep you safe. So the fact of the matter is, the soldier is a tool that's being used by people higher up. So I believe that the people higher up should be held accountable. But I would actually hold them accountable by sending them to war. If you want to go to war, then fucking go. Don't take all of us, you guys that all want the war, go fight it. For example, you look at CNN and you have all these fucking analysts on the news going, oh, war is very good. The guy sits there. That guy hasn't even eaten meat in 2 years. He's like the biggest soy boy you can fucking imagine. And he's sitting there explaining why the war is good, why our young people should die in foreign fucking countries. And it's like, bro, how about you go and you fight that war? We'll send you soy milk every month. Like, we will even accommodate you in that regard. You go fight the fucking war if you think it's such a good thing. But no, it's easy to sit on the news and say, war is amazing. We should have more war, when you're not the fucker fighting it. There was a study done with electric shocks. Adam, I know exactly which study you're talking about, and yes, I've seen the study. I've watched videos on it. I've read articles on it. It's actually fucking fascinating. Would still trust military veterans as American police versus the current police structure. Cops spend more time in high school than they do in police academy. Rhino's Den, 100% agree with you. And this is not me hating the police. In fact, I, again, have a fuck ton of respect for police. Given how underfunded the police departments are, given the lack of training, the fact that I would say 95% of the entire police force is good, right? They genuinely want to help people. They genuinely don't go around being moronic. It is fascinating, considering they don't even get the fucking the training that is required. I personally, there was I don't know, how many of you know who Jocko is? Jocko, he's a friend of what's his name? Oh my fuck names, dude. He's a good friend of Joe Rogan. Yeah, Jocko Willing. You guys know who he is? He actually had this entire discussion with Joe Rogan because he's a military vet. And he is a fucking badass. Agreed. If you've ever listened to that guy speak, it's absolutely amazing. The shit that guy knows and how he understands things. But he actually explains that when you're in the military, you have so much training. It's constant training. You'll be on deployment for 3 months, and then you'll have training for almost a month, and then you'll have deployment for 6 months, you'll have training for an entire month. It's insane the amount of training that the military goes through. And he said, how is it that the police, who deal with far more stressful situations than the military, I mean, if you think about the military, the only stressful situations that they find themselves in is when there's active gunfire and when they're actively patrolling, but a lot of the time they're not. They're in the base. It's fairly safe. It's not safe, but it's fairly safe, right? The police do this on a daily basis. They deal with life-threatening situations 15, 20 times a day. They should be given training constantly. How do you act when someone pulls a gun on you? How do you act when someone isn't listening to you? How do you act when someone is doing something that you told them not to do? you should remain calm in those situations. The only way you can remain calm is by having the training that teaches you how to do this. Instead of just putting, you know, rookies out on the street and going, yeah, all right, they'll be fine, you know? I can imagine the calm would get to you out in a war zone. Swordfish, I never want to be there. My dad was in the military in South Africa because we had conscription. I think it's called conscription. What's the, like, when you're forced to go to the military? We had that in South Africa up until 1994. And my dad was actually beyond enemy lines. He was a med, we had a draft system, but everyone was forced to go. Yeah, conscription. We had conscription, and you had basically three options. You could either join the police force for 4 years. You could join the military for 2, or you could go to jail for 5. So those were your three options, basically. And then you had a few moves that you could pull. For example, you could first go to college, finish university, and then go to the military, or you could do it before you go to the military, or before you go to college, and then the military would pay for your education. My dad first went to university, got his medical degree, and then joined the military. So he was a medic. And he went out on patrol one night, and he legitimately, he says the headaches that you would get on patrol is insane because you're constantly stressed. You know that at any given point you can drive over a landmine. At any given point you can be ambushed. You can be shot at. So it's constantly fucking there. You bang on Echo. In downtimes in the military, we were sweeping floors, pushing paper, doing maintenance on vehicles and kit checks. It's boring shit unless you're training or deployed. On patrol, I drop level 3 light armored vehicles with 8 wheels. Anyone that's been in the military, I think, understands that there's a giant issue. We spoke about this about 2-3 weeks ago, right? For example, the issues that we have with sexual assault victims, the issues that we have with highly specialized crimes or crimes that require specialized treatments. We need more funding in the police to deal with these things. For example, I think if you've ever been sexually assaulted, I don't think there should be a police officer that takes your statement. I think it should be done by a psychologist or a counselor, someone that has training in this, that understands the ins and outs of dealing with someone that's going through this. Throwing a rookie police officer or a police officer who deals with hardened criminals, who deals with people shooting at him every single day, and asking that guy to take the statement of the girl, what the fuck are you doing? He's not trained for that. That should not be his job. If you want him to be able to take gunfire, he should not also be taking the statement of someone that just went through the worst experience of their life. Depends on the country we are talking about too for the police. Joker, I would say Europe has a leg up in that regard when it comes to the police, but there's also a reason for it. Europe, at least to this day, still far more homogenous, single culture, and we have seen throughout history, whenever cultures meet, there is almost always far more outliers to one side or the next, right? You'll get far more peaceful people, but you'll also get far more violent people. And this is just because of, remember, humans are actually very fragile. We don't like to talk about it, but the human psyche is very fragile. If you throw it into a situation that it doesn't always understand and can't control, you're bound to get people that just pop the fuck off, right? Go one way or the other. For Europe, you know, Dutch people speak Dutch. They all believe the same things. They pretty much all do the same shit. So the Dutch police only need to worry about people that have very similar cultures to Dutch people, right? Germans the same. But when you get to places like America, places like South Africa, what you have there is you have these melting pots of different cultures going together, and it is fucking amazing. But sadly, it also comes with downsides, things that it's just a result of melting pots. It just happens because you're throwing plenty of humans into the same thing, and people are going to lose their minds. Some people are just not strong enough to handle that level of integration. So it's difficult to understand how it works, but it's very disingenuous. So, for example, you'll get people that go, yeah, look at what happened in Australia when they banned guns, for example. And it's like, that's a disingenuous argument because Australia isn't America. It's not the same thing. You can't say, look at one country and look how great that worked versus look at another country and look how bad it's going there. Because if you really want to do that, let's talk about Switzerland. Switzerland per capita has more guns than any other country in the world. Guns are completely legal in Switzerland. Everyone can own a gun, and they can own as many guns as they fucking want. It's also one of the countries with the lowest levels of crime and the lowest levels of gun violence in the world. So, again, you can't compare Switzerland to Australia or to America. You can look at South Africa. A lot of people in South Africa have guns. There's very few mass shootings here. So again, it's not an apples to apples comparison when you go, oh, look at that country. We have it so great. We should just follow that country. You're not that country. And you're never going to be that fucking country. To use some sort of metric for comparison, Periscopic, you can't. You can't use any, you can't measure yourself to another country because you aren't that country. For example, and if you guys will permit me not to give you the actual articles because I'm not going to go look for it, but you can definitely Google it and you'll see that I'm not lying. You look at, for example, Norwegians, right? You look at Norway and you look at how prosperous it is and you look at how good things are going there. And then you look at Norwegians in America, the exact same thing. Norwegians in America are extremely prosperous. They have the metrics track culture by culture. Dutch people in America is doing similarly to Dutch people in Holland. Culture is a massive influence, but when you have a bunch of cultures together, how do you compare to any one country? Because that one country doesn't have all those cultures. It's a very different obstacle, right? It's a very different obstacle. Switzerland does have their shit together, yes. I always hear horror stories about South Africa. I recently saw a video of some dudes shooting automatic weapons in an armored car transferring money. Yes, that happens a lot. So there's a shit ton of armored truck heists, which, if you listen to military intelligence specialists, so ex-military intelligence specialists, this is something that was done during the apartheid era as well to fund the war effort. And it's been picking up for the last few years. So people believe that there might be some organization that's planning something. Farm murders are quite often. It happens quite a lot, and they're quite brutal. But I would say for the most part, city centers are fine. At least suburban areas are fine. They're not horrible. Freak Reality, thank you for the follow. Really fucking appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Are you in one of those gated communities? I am. Yes, I live in a gated community. Are you of Buddha descent? The Mighty Ocean, how you doing? Yes, I am, but also not really. I'm actually of German descent, and my family hasn't been here long enough to really claim that they're of Buddha descent. So on my father's side, we arrived in 1838 from Saxony, Germany in South Africa. On my grandmother's side, they arrived in 1901 from Saxony, Germany. On my mother's side, they've been here longer. So I guess my mother's side does count as, like, they came here very long ago, 1700s, I think. So yes, I would be considered a Boer, I suppose. The Gribus, I do agree with you. When you amass that much capital, you become the equivalent of common day dragons. It shouldn't be a crime to steal from a dragon. Wait, what are we talking about now? Rhino's Den. I feel like the conversation has shifted. Are we now talking about taxing the rich? Does everyone speak Afrikaans or just non-British descent people? All right, so Mighty Ocean, there are two groups in South Africa that speak Afrikaans. The one is whites and the other is colored people. Or as you guys in the rest of the world would say, mixed race. But they call themselves coloreds here, so that's what we call them, coloreds. And of that, not every colored speaks Afrikaans, although if they live in Cape Town, they're almost guaranteed to speak Afrikaans as their mother tongue. And then for white people, it's about 50% of the white population that speaks Afrikaans. The other 50% is of British descent, and they speak English. So yeah, it's a small number. So it's a rather small number of the South African population that speaks Afrikaans. Is that just a name for an era? Alex, no. The Boer is the people that fought the British. It's the name for the original settlers in South Africa. From looking at it from Unbased's view in America, they made show of how many shootings during the last 4 years, but when you look at current, 120 days in office and had a lot more shooting. I'll forgive one. The shootings I don't think has anything to do with the president. Don't tax him. That won't do shit. You need money individually. Go raid the Dragon's Lair and skim the gold pile. Was more so making a comparison to how cultures view wealth and how the US romanticizes its own chains. God forsake, Germany played like newbies against France. They don't even count the own goal by their own player. Digit, but didn't they win? Didn't Germany win? Did they lose? Shit. That's a bit sad. I didn't watch it. I'm a huge Fußballmannschaft fan. So it is sort of sad that they lost. But then again, Germany only ever becomes good at the World Cup. Is Joachim Löw still the coach for Germany? Is he still the coach? Then you've got nothing to worry about. He will fix that fucking team. Joachim Löw is a beast. Germanio, how you doing? Welcome to the party. I don't follow football. Like, just to be clear, I don't follow football, but whenever there's a World Cup, I support Germany. I can't speak German, kind of game. I never learned. My grandmother wanted to teach me, and I was just like, nah, don't need it. I'm a bit sad about it now, because it would have been nice to be able to speak the language of my forefathers, but no. I can say a couple of words here and there, but it's basically the words that everyone can say. So I wouldn't, I would not even try. Such an angry language. I like the language because it's very similar to Afrikaans. The way Germans speak German is very similar to how Afrikaans people speak Afrikaans. It's got similar flow to it. So I like German. Doesn't sound that weird to me. 2010 World Cup near you at all? It was, Lucky Penguin. Well, it was all over the country, really. So it depends. Some of the games were near me. Some of the games weren't. Italy, France, Germany, and some UK. I went to a German school in Colombia, so I learned English, Spanish, and German. Julian, so you can speak German 100%. I'm of Anglo-Saxon descent, so maybe we have distant relatives. The Mighty Ocean, we may have. I mean, it is possible. All I know for a fact is that every single person in South Africa that has the surname Pistorius is family. French though? Nah, dude, sounds like spitting. Depends though, Andy. Are you talking about when a girl speaks French? No, when a girl speaks French, it's hot as fuck. But it's similar to a lot of accents. It's similar to a lot of accents. Whenever a girl speaks it, it sounds neat. It sounds very hot. Then a guy speaks and you're like, I don't like that accent. I learned French for 5 years and I've got everything. I don't know a single word in French, I think. Actually, no, I do know the one from Dexter's Laboratory, right? Omelette du fromage. It's the only fucking thing I know in French. German is much harder than Russian in my ears. Omelette du fromage. That's the only word. That's the only words I know. Have a thing for Eastern European accents from women. There's a ton of accents that I love. I love the British accent. I love the American accents. Like, there's a few of them that I don't like, but a lot of American accents are really cool, and I really enjoy them. The Australian accent can be very fucking hot. The Irish accent can be very hot. German accent, very cute sometimes. And I would say, like the Scandinavian accents can be really cool as well. But that's about it. From your stream's title, am I to assume you are another WoW creator to jump to Final Fantasy? The Mighty Ocean, no. I didn't jump to Final Fantasy. I'm making a video, a first impression on Final Fantasy. So I'm playing Final Fantasy because I wanted to make the video to see if it is actually that good, as good as people say. Whether I'll stick with Final Fantasy, right now I'm loving it, but it's not necessarily... I'm still making YouTube videos only on World of Warcraft lore. It is basically, yeah, my main channel, the main thing that I do on my channel is World of Warcraft lore. First impressions will be rough. You need to know it's an RPG first and MMO second. Mighty Ocean, this is why it's taking me so long to actually make the first impression. Because the first impression... if I were to do a proper first impression, it would be 10 hours of gameplay and that's it, right? I would play the game for 10 hours, see if it's good. If it's not good, for example, I'm going to make a first impression on New World. I'm going to play New World for exactly 10 hours. If after 10 hours the game still hasn't gripped me, it's going to be a very scathing first impression video. Because I believe that if you can't grip me after 10 hours of gameplay, then you've done something fundamentally wrong within your game, right? But when it came to Final Fantasy, I had so many of the viewers saying you can't do that. You have to give this game a fair shake. You have to play the expansions. You have to experience what this game, when it actually became good. That's why I said, okay, fine. I will fucking play Final Fantasy up until I reach the expansions. I'll try and do some of the endgame content within it. I'll see what the story is like, and then I'll release my first impression. So it is taking a bit longer than I would have wanted. Novak, thank you for the follow, dude. Really fucking appreciate that. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sounds like copium for a bad early game. As we said it best, we all love WoW. We just want it to be good. That's exactly my thing. In Final Fantasy, I find the best part is that I can cast an ability and make a cup of coffee while waiting on the global. The globals, if you've not played long enough, I can see why the globals would bother you, but the globals are actually not as bad as you think. Because there's a lot of abilities that's instant cast and not on the global cooldown that eventually gets weaved into your playstyle. So for example, I currently have this sort of stabby ability where it's not on the global cooldown. It's an instant cast that just sort of happens. So you do your normal rotation and then you weave in these instant casts in between the global cooldowns. So it actually starts feeling very fast eventually. So Final Fantasy has fixed their global cooldown issue by having some abilities on the global cooldown and some abilities that doesn't have the global cooldown. If you like weaving a lot, I do like weaving. So weave in passive abilities, weave out the weebs. Every rogue ever, stabby ability. Yeah, but this is, I'm not a rogue, but this is a stabby ability. My character turns around and then stab behind him. And then it's like a big purple fucking explosion. Eating plan going, any progress? Kalike, a lot of progress and a lot of pain. But it's going well. The Mighty Ocean, no. I'm a paladin. and I want to switch to Dark Knight whenever that becomes available. Yeah, I decided to go tank, although I'm waiting for the new expansion so that I can switch server. Because I'm a little bit upset about the fact that I chose tank on the NA server. Because on the NA server, the tank feels horrible. For example, trying to interrupt an ability is almost impossible. I have so much lag that I just can't fucking... I can't get the ability unless I catch it right at the start of the cast. So I'm sort of hoping that that gets better. I guess you're right. If the leveling process wasn't as bad as wanking with broken glass, I'd probably get beyond the GCD issue. The leveling isn't that bad. Do you guys want to play some Final Fantasy? Although before we do that, we probably do have to discuss... there's at least a little bit of new lore that we could discuss. I know Dark Knight is tank too. I get a lot of different results here at the moment. So can someone tell me exactly what they want? Do you want to play Final Fantasy, ladies and gentlemen, or do you not want to play Final Fantasy? Because you have two options. We can play Final Fantasy, or we can sit here and talk shit. We're gonna do the lore anyways. We're gonna do the lore before we do the Final Fantasy. This is about what comes after. Oh, for the love of cunt. Can you just type without fucking me over? Dark Knight is a good job, and so is Gunblade. Gunblade is the other one I may want to fucking get into. Lore first. Okay, we'll do lore first, and then we'll get into the other. For this, we're probably gonna have to mute the music because is Gunblade fast? All right, so there's a brand new cinematic that, for those of you that missed it, new cinematic that launched or that was released by Lays TV. This was 16 hours ago. And it shows the Mal'Ganis storyline. But there's some really interesting things in this storyline. Some really interesting reveals from the voice lines of Mal'Ganis. That we've discussed this cinematic in the past. Although there's definitely new voice lines that wasn't data mined along with the original. So when we discussed it, there was no cinematic. There was only some voice lines that seemed to be part of some kind of cinematic. Now we have the cinematic. And definitely very much worth discussing.
While you remained fixated on a paltry medallion, we seized the true prize, Remornia, with the Sire's essence held within it.
So first and foremost, I do want to say here, it feels as if he's putting as much emphasis on Remornia as he is the Sire. So my question becomes, what was more important to them? Or was both important? Was this a big mistake from Prince Ranethal? Did he make a massive mistake here by placing the essence of Sidon-Athreus or leaving the essence of Sidon-Athreus within Remornia? Did he make a mistake? Would it have been better to separate the essence? Because it seems like this is two prizes. They wanted and needed Remornia, and now they have the Sire. And you'll see how it becomes actually more interesting a bit later on in the cinematic.
Our mission never changed. For eons, we have done the Master's bidding in secret across countless realities.
So first and foremost, again, we have the confirmation, and this is something we spoke about earlier. The lie that was told to Prince Ranethal is that after the light invaded Revendreth, so for those of you that don't know the story, we had reveals in 9.1 when data mining just started that the light invaded Revendreth, and the reason for it was the unseen guests, the Nathrezim. The light discovered that the Nathrezim had invaded the ranks, And as a result of this, the light retaliated with an attack on Revendreth. There were some very interesting things that happened during that attack that definitely needs to be explored, and that I think will be explored later on in probably patch 9.1.5, most likely 9.2. We'll get some explanation for why this was. But for some reason, the Maldraxi did not rise up to defend Revendreth when it was being attacked by the light. Revendreth was left to fend for itself. The Necrolords, whose own job, their very existence, is the protection and the defense of the Shadowlands. When the Shadowlands was attacked by the light, the Primus and his forces did not rise to the occasion. They did not help out. So it ended up being that the Stone Mother, the Stone Right, had to take her own children to fight the light, and they lost many in order to foul the light, in order to push the light out. Now, after that happened, the Stone Right refused to have the Nathrezim in Revendreth, and Sidon-Athreus, in an attempt to broker peace, sent the Nathrezim away, and he told them that he had banished the Nathrezim. This serves as proof that the Nathrezim was never banished. Instead, they were sent out to basically perform a new duty, something that's been in the works for eons.
The Scourge, Argus.
The Legion, the Scourge, Argus. All pawns in a game beyond your grasp. One that now nears its end. The Legion, the Scourge, Argus. Now, of course, it's not in chronological order, because it was first the Scourge, then the Legion, then Argus. And I believe that there's actually far more than that they had their hands in. For example, if they say that they had their hands in the Scourge, we now understand full well what is the Scourge. Where does the Scourge come from? It comes from the Lich King. Meaning they were, and we were correct in our speculation of this, they were directly responsible for the creation of the Lich King. This is exactly what they wanted. They wanted the Scourge. In order to get the Scourge, they had to get a Lich King. They had to get the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne to Azeroth. Azeroth then had to have a Lich King, and Arthas was chosen for this duty in order to create the Scourge. This was pawns for them. This was all part of their plan. This is something that the Nathrius had sent them out to do. Then we have the Legion. Why does the Legion exist? Anyone in chat want to tell me, why does the Legion exist? The chat just die? But why? Why did Sargeras create the Legion? The Void. But it's not the Void. It's to destroy life. What did the Nathrezim tell Sargeras? They told him about the Void and how the Void is trying to corrupt a world soul. They are liars. They are infiltrators. It's what they do. They lied to Sargeras in order to get him to break away from the pantheon of life in order to create the Scourge, the Legion and the Scourge, but the Legion specifically, to end all life. So all of this was part of their plan. Remember when I made the video about the old gods and how the old gods did not present themselves as our enemies? They were the ones who told us that the old gods are the enemy. It's the Nathrezim. Everything that we know about the old gods, everything that we fear about the old gods, come directly from the Nathrezim. When was the first time we learnt about what the old gods wanted to do? From the Chronicles. In Sargeras, in his own words, when he explained to the Pantheon why he wants to destroy all life. That's the only thing we know about the old gods. If you think about it, what else do we know? When the old gods speak to us, they don't speak of our end. They don't speak as if they wish to destroy us. If anything, if you pay attention in BFA, what did N'Zoth do? He was testing us. He was consistently testing us, trying to see if we are worthy of his final crusade, of whatever he wanted to do. The old gods, their voice lines continuously talk about how they wish to save us. N'Zoth actually fucking says this to us. He says, Sylvanas will use the helm to rip open the sky and unleash darkness. He says that I alone can save you from this fate. What do? We kill him based on the words of Sargeras. Sargeras, who's influenced by the Nathrezim. This is everything that they've done. Now, people seem to think that Saïd Nathrius was just some pawn. You have to think more global than that. Saïd Nathrius pulled off one of the greatest heists in the history, one of the greatest con jobs in the history of World of Warcraft. With one move, he managed to change the direction of the entire cosmology. He managed to throw the cosmological forces into turmoil with one move. A helm and a sword. Everything changed. And it is all thanks to his guests, his unseen guests. Saïd Nathrius' role, his job is not over. There is still much more. And they keep speaking about how it all nears the end. If you guys remember the whispers that we were talking about yesterday, it's very similar. The whispers yesterday from the Ever-Living statuette. Now, I've been thinking about the Ever-Living statuette a little bit more. Think about its name, Ever-Living. First Ones, prior to First Ones. They say that this is older than anything that they know, considering the feeling that they get when they look at the statue. They don't know how old it is, but it's older than anyone can know. I think Blizzard is setting up to introduce a new species, a new race to us, one that is even older or perhaps dates back as far as the First Ones. The fact that we see those statues, and for anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, hopefully, do you guys want to see the picture of the statue? Because you should all know exactly what these statues look like. Hopefully when Alex edits this video for YouTube, he'll have a picture of it on the screen for people. But if you look at that statue, we've seen that statue before. That statue is everywhere. And oftentimes far older. On things far older than any of the lore that we have right now. If you think back to it, TBC had those statues on the Dark Portal. This was before any of this was known to us. So could it be that the Dark Portal is technology that was never meant for the hands of man? Consider where that technology would have come from. Where that knowledge would have come from. It would have come from the Nathrezim. The Nathrezim would have been the ones who taught the orcs how to make the Dark Portal. Who would have informed the Nathrezim? Saïd Nathrius. Saïd Nathrius serves Zuvul. Zuvul serves the Ever-Living. He serves the masters of the Shadowlands. Could those statues be the masters of the Shadowlands, the original ones, not the ones that was overtaken? And if you want to know what I'm talking about, I do have a video talking about the Ever-Living statue and exactly how the Shadowlands became corrupted and how the Shadowlands was taken over. So if you want to watch that, if you're watching this on Twitch, there's nothing I can do for you. You'll just have to go look for it. It's the newest video. I did it yesterday. No, I think the video just went live, actually. It literally just went live. I made it live like, 40 minutes ago. So you can go watch that video if you want more information on what I'm talking about right now. For everyone watching this on YouTube, I'll probably have a link for you up there, like way in the fucking corner there. But if you look at these things, can you truly tell me that it's not so? Can you truly tell me that it's not how this works, or doesn't it make sense to you that all of this actually comes from Zuval? Zuval, we know, serves something far greater. When all of the sigils was handed out to the Eternal Ones, he believed that those sigils had power. It would unlock secrets. The Primus tells us we should not allow Zuval to reach the Sepulchre. The Sepulchre is a place where something was buried. Death, the ever-living, the masters of the Shadowlands.
All pawns in a game beyond your grasp. One that now nears its end.
If I watch these, and the more I learn about Side Nathrius and the unseen guests, the Nathrazim, and their hand in the history of World of Warcraft, all leading to this moment, I can't help but think something incredible is coming. Some massive twist that we've not even noticed yet. And then you look at 9.1 and you look at what we're doing in 9.1 and you look at some of the other cinematics for 9.1 and you very quickly realize it's all over. Whatever this game is that we're playing, there's going to be a massive switch. Something crazy is going to happen. Is it just me that has that feeling, or does everyone have that sense of foreboding? Please tell me I'm not the only one. It would be fucking sad if I was the only one that had that feeling, that sense that something bad is coming, and we don't quite know what it is. You guys are really hoping so? I'm hoping so too. I want a massive twist. I want something that throws the entire story into flux. Plus, I think we have to lose. I genuinely think that the only way to save World of Warcraft at this point is for us to lose, because in losing, you could remove a lot of power, you could change a lot of things. I genuinely think losing is a good way to get the game back to a more, shall we say, fun place, I suppose. By the way, Alex, I'm uploading the video for you now. Whenever you have time to edit that, as soon as possible, please. We was losing the big scheme. I hope they do it literally with the six-pack. Make it obvious for people not paying attention. The problem with how we lose is it's been a long road, right? It's been a very long road if you think about it. We've been losing probably since before Legion. We've been losing every step of the way. We just don't know it. We just don't realize it. Blizzard is playing the very long game here in making us think we win, but every single time we win, something worse happens. Things just keep getting worse. Every single time we win, we open the door for something even more evil to escape. But I do agree with you, Alex. What I want now is even more. I actually think we've been losing since Wrath, because I actually do believe that there's a link between the Lich King and the Old Gods. The Old Gods weren't going to cause too much of a stir as long as there was a Lich King, because they knew that they would lose against a one-on-one full-on fight against the Lich King. And so once Arthas fell, once the Lich King was slain, they felt emboldened to take that first step to bringing about the end times. And then, yes, we lost in the end times. Mists of Pandaria is probably a bit of a break, even though some shit happened there as well that was Old God related. WoD was just a fucking nightmare, so God knows whether or not we won or lost in WoD. I do know that most of the player base lost in WoD. Then you had Legion, which again, we put an end to Argus, which may have been, again, something that they themselves orchestrated. We needed to put an end to Argus. Which means Argus may have actually been able to save us if we didn't kill him. So it all turns into quite interesting shit. Probably just another vision. When your castle is made with Old God blood, I think there's a link between the Lich King and the Old Gods. Well, we do know that the Old Gods didn't have actual effects on the Lich King. They, at least from what we've been told, they couldn't really gain access to him, even though it was made with Saronite. I do sometimes think, though, that World of Warcraft needs to find a way to make their gameplay as good as their lore. The Void and Death have trouble controlling one another? Yes. I don't even know if it is necessarily the Void and Death that has trouble controlling one another. I think it's actually just because Arthas was already being controlled by Zuval, because he was already being dominated by Zuval, the Old Gods could gain no access. Where Zuval used domination magic in order to control Arthas, the Void uses the Whispers. But when domination magic is already present on a soul, the Whispers seem to not take effect. Exactly, their lore is exceptional. It's only the gameplay that's not adding up. The gameplay is so close to being good, though. It just requires a couple of changes and the gameplay would be absolutely amazing. Thirellus, interesting question. Is there a puppet master? Someone that's been... There's definitely been countless puppets. As for puppet master, it might be an unseen hand. Might be something that we have not encountered yet. Be funny that this whole time we thought we beat N'Zoth and we're on to the Shadowlands, but really, we're in a giant dream made N'Zoth to see how future might pan out, like hedging his bets. The problem with that is, how do you do that in terms of a game decision? How do you show that in a video game? Is everything it does? I feel Final Fantasy does better, and WoW has sat on its butt too long, ignoring competition. Adam, I agree with you. I told you guys yesterday, I've heard it from World of Warcraft developers themselves who told me the problem with WoW right now is they sort of have to do everything on their own. Whenever they come up with something new, they can't really look to any other MMO to see how the other MMOs are handling things. They have to beta test everything themselves because they're so much bigger than the others that the others don't matter. And when I heard that, I was like, well, therein lies the fucking problem, right? Therein lies the problem. You should always be looking at what other games are doing. You should be looking at, even if it's a smaller MMO, it doesn't matter. If an MMO has 2 million players, but the 2 million players absolutely love the game, then of course you can learn things from that MMO. How can you tell me that I have nothing to learn from this MMO because, you know, sadly, they don't have 5 million players like we do? Always hiding behind curtains. Agreed. Just want to say, Final Fantasy isn't the only MMORPG people have gone to. No, you also have Elder Scrolls Online that's been doing really well. In order to even make Final Fantasy 14, Yoshi P made his developers play WoW. Yoshi P still plays WoW and even goes to BlizzCon. I know, I covered the article on that as well, Adam. Yoshi P is a massive fanboy of Blizzard, a massive fanboy of World of Warcraft. He doesn't only play World of Warcraft, he also plays Diablo, he plays Overwatch. So he takes inspiration from all games, which is exactly what you should do as a game developer. You should take inspiration. And I feel like Blizzard have run out of inspiration. They now feel like they should be the trendsetters. They feel like they should be the ones who makes all the new things that no one ever thought about. And the problem with that is what players want is all the old things that we enjoyed so far back. So I had a poll. Let me just quickly see if I can find that poll. Hold up. I made a poll here the other day, and we had about 2.6k votes on it. For those of you that don't know, I do these polls almost every single day over on YouTube. I really enjoy hearing what people have to say. Which feature would you like to see most in World of Warcraft? Housing. 37% of the 2.6k votes goes for housing. Done right, not like garrisons. I can guarantee you at 2.6 thousand votes, if I had 2 million votes, it would look similar. You would have a very similar thing. People want housing. 18% of the people want Mage Tower done, but done so it always remains relevant. That is just another word for relevancy. Torghast, remain relevant, make it more like Mage Tower, and people will love doing that. Unified questing experience that ties the old world to the new. Class-specific quests every expansion. Class order halls. These are all things that Blizzard have done in the past that people want back. Unified questing, for example. Go back to Legion. How much in Legion did you have to go back to the old world for your class order hall to do things in the old world? People enjoyed that shit. Going back to the old world, experiencing parts of the world that we haven't been to in years. All of this is things that people have done before. Blizzard have done this, and then they remove it. They decide to just, fuck it, we'll do something new next expansion. How long can you keep coming up with new things to do before you run out of things to fucking add? Because you've done all the new things. Is the lead English translator for the game? They definitely need someone that translates the English a bit better, because the English is not always on point. You think that's an Activision mindset, Dilapus? I don't know if I had to farm the same gear set every tier in an expansion. I would rather not have to farm the same pieces within the same tier, just to hope for a random Titan Forge. I, for one, am glad Titan Forging gone. Titan Forging should have sucked the dick long before. Titan Forging should never have been introduced in the fucking game. I enjoy class order halls. Class order halls was amazing, and not just because of the class order halls, because it was class-specific storylines. Can you fucking imagine class order halls in BFA? Your class now comes together, and what does it do? It needs to fight the next big bad. So your class moves forward. It sends you on class-specific quests. So if you have a paladin and a warlock, you're going to have very different quests, very different areas of the story to explore. And now you're sent out to stop N'Zoth as your class. And then, of course, you have Shadowlands. Your class order hall just moves forward again. Once again, your class order hall moves into the Shadowlands, and you're working out how to stop Zuval as a class. Again, class-specific questing, class-specific storylines, class-specific cosmetics. Class order halls would be such a huge boon for World of Warcraft. Mage Tower or Torghast, if it's done right, housing, all of these things are things that World of Warcraft could so easily put into the game, and it would be such a huge fucking win for the general player base. Do the Simpsons did it moment in their life? The problem is WoW is running into WoW did it. My issue with Dragonwolf, how you doing, brother? My issue, and I agree with a lot of the views from people here. Fucking off for a bit. Video done downloading. All right, Alex, thank you very much, dude. Really appreciate that, man. My issue with World of Warcraft, and again, I want to make this very clear. I'm not sitting here bashing on World of Warcraft because, you know, I want WoW to die. That would be stupid. Literally, my entire life is made on WoW. If WoW dies, I'm done, right? What the fuck am I doing then? Right? So I don't want WoW to die. I like the game. And personally, I don't know a single gamer that wants less games in the world. That's the stupidest thing for me. Whenever people say, oh, you're just negative, you just want WoW to die. It's like, yeah, sure. Because I'm the gamer, the one gamer in the world that wants fewer fucking games. No, I want more games. Like, I want Final Fantasy. I want World of Warcraft. I want New World. I want Ashes of Creation. I want Elder Scrolls Online. I want more games, not less games. More is always better. As a gamer, I think we can all agree on that. More is better. But I want all of these games to tickle a different itch, or to scratch a different itch. That's what I want. What are you doing next? Points of Final Fantasy? Mage Learning Golden and Arcane Fire or Frost type Fire? Dragon Wolf, thank you so much. Tier 2 sub, dude. Really fucking appreciate that. 6 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Want WoW to be good again? I want WoW to be amazing again. I want WoW to fix itself. I want WoW to feel like the game that it used to feel like. The sad part is, and this is something that Alex said and Rhino Stain said as well, it feels to me as if there is a fundamental disconnect. And maybe I'm alone, so chat, tell me if you agree or disagree with this opinion. But it feels to me like there is a fundamental disconnect between the player base and the developers. The developers have one goal for what they think World of Warcraft should be, and the players seem to have a very different goal for what they think World of Warcraft should be. Every single time the developers come out with something new, the player base is left going, but we did not, this is not what we wanted. We sort of wanted this thing, and you've gone in a completely different fucking direction. It's the same as you having sex with a girl. She wants normal sex, and you go for anal. There's a fundamental disconnect there. No one is saying anal isn't necessarily good, but in that moment, that wasn't necessarily what was put on the table. Right? What you put down, she wasn't picking up, if you will. And that's the issue that I have now with World of Warcraft. It feels like we keep asking, we want to do missionary, and Blizzard keeps going, but we're going to do doggy, and we're going to shove it up your ass. We're going, but that's not really what we asked for. Like, we don't care. We'll use lube. We're like, that's fine. Thank you for the consideration, but that's not what I wanted. That's not exactly what I wanted. It's not personally what I fucking asked for. That's what I feel is happening within World of Warcraft right now. Jumanio, want the game to keep things interesting in the bedroom? That's a whole different game, though. Not even with Luke, just spit. Holy shit. We don't need new systems every expansion or patch. I agree, Mikimoto. That's because they want to make new stuff because it frees their creativity up, but WoW players just want consistency and polish. Zeditry, I wouldn't even say that it's not about new stuff. WoW players love new things. The issue is new things become very monotonous if you're getting new things every expansion, but the new things that you get last expansion gets removed, right? Then it doesn't feel fun, right? It's not as fun as you might think then. Oh my god, LaMassive, first time chatting to you, Echo. That made my day. Anal. Pyramera, how you doing, bro? Stick around. Most of my examples usually come from the bedroom. As I was going to say, they have trouble discerning what the player need from what they say they want. Agreed. Should we want this even? Tell them that we want the go with how they want it to be, but force us into their mold even when we're square and they're round hole. That's my problem. It's the difference is new stuff is nice, but the next expansion, it's all useless and thrown out. Not everything has to be tied to player power. I actually believe that nothing should be nothing that isn't endgame related should be tied to player power. Only the things that is endgame related should be tied to player power. Everything else should just exist as a form of fun. As something fun to do in the game, which is the whole point of playing video games. Whereas Final Fantasy carry them forward. Indeed, I have only seen on in the loaded videos. First time I got to hang live, bro. Happy to have you here, Pierre. Really happy to have you here. Can we get some love in chat for Pierre for his first time at the fucking stream? And choosing to chat literally after I speak about anal sex, which is such a good induction into the world of Accolon streams. Get rid of Ian. He has a lawyer. He was a lawyer, so he spent his whole life screwing his clientele, and he isn't going to stop anytime soon. Dragonwolf, I don't necessarily think that Ian is the biggest problem, because we spoke about this sort of, we touched on it very shortly yesterday. In order to understand what is going wrong, we first have to figure out where it's going wrong. And this is where, if the producers for World of Warcraft, for example, have one specific vision, then it doesn't matter what Ian's vision is for the game. Because what Ian thinks the game should be isn't what the producers of World of Warcraft think the game should be. And when that disconnect exists, there's nothing that a director can do to change that. This is what the higher-ups want, and this is what they're pushing. So we would first have to understand who is pushing what within World of Warcraft. The correct time? Oh, yeah. Outsource WoW to Dreamhaven, like that other dev that did D2R. I don't think they'll ever outsource it. The problem with Ian is that it's just that his philosophy needs to change. His interviews really make me scratch my head. To be fair, that I agree with. And in that regard, I will also agree with Dragonwolf. If you talk about... if you listen to his interviews, it's clear that whenever Ian says something, he truly believes that the decisions that they're making is the right decisions that they should be making. Even when Preach sits there in the interview and goes, clearly fucking surprised at the answer that he was just given, and the director for World of Warcraft thinks, nah, it's cool, dude. Don't worry about it. Dragonwolf, I don't necessarily think so, at least for World of Warcraft. John Haidt is, as far as I'm concerned, he is higher up than Ian. Ian is the lead game director for World of Warcraft, but John Haidt is the producer for World of Warcraft, so he controls the money, he controls the systems. Basically, without him, Ian can do shit. Like, there's nothing Ian can do. Oh my god, Preacher's reaction to Ian speaking was priceless. I could watch that video again just for Preacher's reaction. Is a slave to submetric or enough? That's life. As much as he wants to make a great game, he also likely wants to maintain employment. And through that, he has people to report to. The funny thing for me, so there's actually an article that I'm not going to go into in too much depth, but Activision Blizzard extends contentious shareholder vote on executive pay. Now, all of you should have heard about the executive pay issue. Bobby Kotick wants $200 million. The shareholders doesn't want to give him $200 million. They actually want to reduce his pay, right? Now, I don't necessarily care. I don't care. If you do a good job and people love your game and you make enough money, you should be able to get $200 million for your work. You are, after all, doing... you're doing the work. You are the one steering the ship. You're steering the ship in the right direction. My problem is that when you're getting $200 million, but your gamers are actively fucking livid at how you run your company and how the games are performing under your supervision, then you shouldn't get $200 million. And I wouldn't say remove Bobby Kotick, because we could get Andrew Wilson. Do you really fucking want Andrew Wilson running Blizzard Entertainment or Activision Blizzard? You know, there's definitely, for the last 2 days, we've seen a lot of new viewers. Yes. The thing is, Bobby's rate of pay is so much higher than most CEOs. I mean, again, I don't really judge people based on the money that they make. If he's doing a good job and he earns the money, like he deserves the money that he's getting, then fucking so be it. CEOs do a lot more than people think. Their jobs are a lot more stressful and a lot harder than what people actually think. After hours, whenever people go home, it's the CEO that is still stuck with all of the major decisions, all of the major work that happens in the company, making decisions that could impact thousands upon thousands of people's lives. You have to understand, being a CEO is a very tough job, because one wrong decision can mean thousands of people lose their jobs because the company goes bankrupt. So being a CEO isn't a walk in the park, contrary to what many people want to believe. Many people think the CEO just sits in his office and plays golf, which really isn't the case. Most CEOs work their absolute fucking asses off to run those companies. But at the same time, if your gamers are unhappy, and you can't tell me that the shareholders aren't aware that gamers are unhappy with the direction for World of Warcraft. If your gamers are unhappy, then surely you don't deserve $200 million fucking dollars. Most capable, that is the most successful, but rather the most confident. How many times have you been in a group project and a complete idiot takes the initiative? It happens often. I usually let them though. As long as I don't have to do shit, we're all good. But for Activision Blizzard, doubtful he's keeping an eye to the ground with gamers. If he was a good CEO, he would almost definitely be keeping an eye on the gamers. Because if you're into capitalism, which most of these companies should be, because that's how they exist. If you didn't have capitalism, you wouldn't have any gaming companies. You wouldn't have any mobile phone companies. You would have nothing. Because who would want to make something? Who would want to risk their entire life savings building something that could fail and they're not going to get any of the profit? This is why capitalism works, because people take risks in the hopes of actually achieving something and making profit off of it. So most of these companies should support capitalism, at least to some extent. And if you're a capitalist, you know that there's nothing more important than your customer. If your customer is unhappy, you will surely lose that customer eventually, and losing that customer is also the end of shareholders. Make no mistake, what's happening these days is not a result of capitalism. It's a result of bad actors. Let the idiot sink the ship. The stories are never about the one running the rudders. What we have today, the issues that we have today, and I don't want to make this too much of a political or economic discussion, but we don't have capitalism in most of these. In most countries, we don't. Most countries have lists of companies that's too big to fail. That's the most uncapitalistic thing you can ever think of. There should never be a company that's too big to fail. And probably Activision Blizzard understands this. I can guarantee you, if Activision Blizzard, EA and those companies were to fail tomorrow, let's imagine that they ran out of money tomorrow, do you believe that the American government is going to let these companies fail? And also consider, before you answer this, if you look at the S&P 500, you do know that the entire S&P 500 is held up by 6 companies. The rest of the companies are zombie companies. They make no money. They're held up by the US government. They're given money every single day or every single year to pay their bills and to keep going. But they are zombie companies. They no longer make any money. The government would step in. Why? Because you'd have thousands of people unemployed if these companies were to fail. So they know that they can pretty much do whatever the fuck they want. The government would be there to bail them out because they're tied to the stock market. And if a company like Activision Blizzard fails tomorrow, the stock market will feel it. So this means that they can act as however they want. They know they're safe. They know that even if all their players fucked off, they would have a safety net. So they don't care. Dragon Wolf, I personally I personally believe that we are on the cusp of the death of most AAA companies. I think in the coming years, we're going to see more and more coming from the indie market, and the indie market will eventually take over. That's my personal belief. Yeah, they bail out the banks, they bail out the automotive industries. Again, yeah, we have to look at it. Activision Blizzard is a massive company. If it goes down, some of the banks are going to be in trouble. The banks are going to get bailed out by the government. The banks will in turn bail out the companies. So it's all just a fucking sick cycle. And we are the ones that end up paying for it every single fucking time. Diversification is good for everyone, whether it be sales or prospect of employment, for sure. We can hope, but then the indie market becomes AAA and the Ouroboros cycle continues. The problem with the indie companies becoming AAA is the sheer amount of them. So, Troublefang, why do AAA studios exist today? It's legacy. The same thing. How many of you think that legacy media is going to exist within the next decade? How many of you think that there's still going to be a CNN, an NBC, a Fox News within a decade? Like, truthfully, how many of you think that these BBCs and shit is still going to exist within a decade from now? Perpetrator, they won't. Legacy media is on the outs. It's literally underwater. It's making its final sort of try to come back into some sort of existence. But with the advent of the internet, with the invention of things like YouTube, things like Spotify, things like Apple Podcasts, you now have people now want long form content. Look at Twitch. We have 117 people here hanging out for hours. We've been live for 2 hours. People want live, long-form content. They want content that can make them think, that can make them laugh. They don't want the 6-minute segments anymore. Now, how did AAA video game companies come to a rise? The answer is rather simple. There was no competition. Back in the day, it was ridiculously difficult to actually publish a game. You needed millions of dollars to do it. If you wanted to do a worldwide publish of your game, you couldn't afford it. So what happened was you had a couple of companies that managed to make success, that found publishers that was willing to publish their games, and through that they became the biggest companies in the world. But look at Steam right now. If you go on Steam, the vast majority of games is indie games. Some of your top selling games consistently is indie games. You see, once AAA companies die, there's going to be far too much competition within the market to keep or to build another AAA studio. And you can already see it. Xbox, for example, have just announced that they're starting to work with more indie developers to bring more indie games to the Game Pass system, to the Game Pass ecosystem. Companies like Xbox, companies like Sony is going to become the sort of publishers for indie games. But indie games are never going to get to the same size as AAA companies. So we're going to get far more games, far better games, but smaller games. Games that doesn't require studio sizes of 500-600 people. Yeah, but again, it was because you had you had a few companies that controlled the entire market. That's no longer true, and it's never going to be true again. Perpetrator, my only problem with YouTube right now is that it seems hell-bent on promoting legacy media over promoting actual people sitting in their basement making videos. The whole point for YouTube was to be a creative-focused platform. Why do you think so many of us focus on things like Twitch, focus on things like Patreon? Why do you think I make a podcast every single week for Twitch, for Patreon? Why do I go live on Twitch? Because YouTube is no longer reliable. If I were to only rely on YouTube, I wouldn't be able to survive. I wouldn't be able to pay Alex's salary because YouTube doesn't promote my videos. And I know this because I don't use any other promotion tools. I refuse to use any of my other platforms to promote my videos. So I rely solely on YouTube promotion. And YouTube doesn't want to promote me. They want to promote the IGNs, the legacy guys, the Kotakus, because, you know, they have some weird fetish to become one of these fucking publishers. So for most YouTube content creators, for most channels now, I think it becomes more a case of smaller communities that can sustain you, which is similar to what we're talking about when we talk about the AAA industry versus the indie industry, right? Smaller streams or smaller communities, but communities that can sustain you and help you build your business. The days are gone of you... believe me, the days are gone of you seeing all of these 10, 12, 15 million YouTube content creators. It's rare. It's very rare. And even then, some of those creators don't make enough money because they're shoehorned into one specific thing that they can talk about because that's what YouTube wants. So what happens is most content creators have figured out, well, we need to use Patreon, we need to use Twitch, we need to get other forms of investment into our content. Payment options, because don't they quite a cut from your money? Balia even acknowledged it. I don't know what Balia is talking about. Patreon takes the least amount of money out of any platform on the internet. It takes even less than OnlyFans, which is the second best option. So OnlyFans, I think, takes 20% of your of the subscription, and you get 80%. Twitch, for example, takes 50%. You get 50%. YouTube takes 30%. You get 70%. Patreon takes 5%, and you get 95%. So Patreon is insane in terms of how it works. No, I'm not starting an OnlyFans, Germania. He just got investigated by the FBI for fraud or something. This reminds me actually of in my country, they're now looking to regulate Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because they claim that cryptocurrencies are used for illicit activities like funding terrorism and the black market and shit. The reason I bring this up and the reason this makes me laugh is, what do you think is used more to fund illicit activities? The US dollar or cryptocurrencies? Or any fucking currency versus cryptocurrencies? I guarantee you it's the currencies. So if you really want to fucking push out the things that fund terrorism, then you have to close down the fiat currencies. They're the bad things. Like, most terrorist organizations are funded by the US dollar. It's not funded by crypto. Novak, man, finally fucking interesting stream. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Happy to have you here. Regulation means fuck all. We know that it means fuck all because half the regulations can't be enforced, and it's not stopped anything. But that's not actually true. That's not actually true. For example, every single day, hundreds of thousands of dollars of cryptocurrencies are blacklisted by crypto exchanges that was involved in illicit activities. In fact, cryptocurrencies has a far better track record of seeing whether or not money was used for something that it wasn't supposed to be used for. Now, if you're talking about tax dodging, yes, crypto is used to dodge taxes, but that's because most people are figuring out that the governments are just using my money for things that I don't want them to use it for. I don't necessarily think that dodging tax is a bad thing. I think tax is a bad thing. Central banks can roll out their own cryptos, Fatecoin. Yeah, I will never use the central bank's cryptocurrencies, ever. I have my cryptocurrencies. I love my crypto. I will never fucking touch the central bank's cryptocurrencies. Yep. The paper trail is indeed easier. With cryptos, they can track exactly what and where and how you were using it. You can't do the same with cash. Once I've drawn cash, how are you going to determine where I've taken it? This is why, in fact, most organizations don't use cryptocurrencies in order to fund their illicit activities, because cash can't be traced, whereas cryptos can be traced. People think they can't. They can. If you really want to know where your crypto has been, they can figure out where it's been. They can't know exactly who owns the crypto, right? Unless, of course, you were stupid and you put it into your, literally into your own account on the exchange. But they can know where the money was going, and they can just blacklist that money. So, sure, you just funded a terrorist organization, and as soon as they got the money, it got blacklisted and therefore removed. Tell me something, Echo. How in the hell do you mine more Bitcoin? Is there a virtual mine? Because it's confusing how you mine a digital money. Okay, so Unforgive One, you would never mine it, ever. The problem right now with all sorts of mining is it's being phased out, first and foremost. The proof of stake networks are starting to take over. You have Cardano, you have Ethereum that's now moving to a proof of stake network as well. So mining has become less and less important, and it's probably going to be phased out fairly soon. In terms of Bitcoin, the reason you and I would never mine it is there are massive, giant fucking companies that mine Bitcoin every single day. They have massive mining farms that you and I can't compete with. And the problem with Bitcoin is it uses whoever does it first. So if you're trying to mine Bitcoin, so the way mining works, just in case you don't know, it's not really mining. They call it mining, but it's not really mining. What it is whenever there's a transaction on the network, right? The network has to agree on what that transaction is, and then how much it is and to who that transaction goes. So let's say you send me 200 Bitcoin. There needs to be a way for the network to know that you sent the 200, it was yours to begin with. I received the 200, now it's mine. Now, in order to do this transaction, this is what we call mining. These massive rigs, these computers, these server farms, they're set up to handle those transactions. And what they basically do is a bunch of servers mine the exact same transaction balance sheet or crypto sheet, and then they share it with one another. And if they all reach consensus on what the right transaction sheet is, then they say this is what happened. So you sent 200, I received 200, and that's how it works. And then the people that do this, so the server farms that handle these transactions, they get a fee on top of it. So there's a fee that's paid to them for every single transaction that they do. Ransomware alpha is sort of a new thing. It is the birth of the internet, so it makes sense why they require crypto in order to unlock them, right? Because yes, bank transfers is instantly traceable, but don't think that the same isn't true for crypto. They can trace it. What is worth more than that is information. That is some mining that is out there. Been thinking of getting into the stock market for bitcoins, kind of things, but it is confusing. I've given one. So getting into crypto exchanges, very good idea. Even though I won't give you advice on how to invest, or you shouldn't follow my advice, because what the fuck do I know? But the way I do it, currently at least, so my current sort of holdings, let's just quickly go here. I'm currently, as of yesterday, I'm buying a lot of Ethereum because Ethereum is basically plunged into obscurity. So I'm buying basically only Ethereum at the minute. And then I buy a little bit of Cardano. But that's it. That's all I'm currently buying. Because Ethereum is going to go back up. It's guaranteed going to go back up. The market is currently in a bear market. So it's great for purchasing. It's probably going to go down even more, so I'm just going to keep buying Ethereum. And then there's a couple of others, but once you get into it, you start getting better at it. So I wouldn't worry too much. But I always buy. I don't even buy the dip. I just always buy. CDJ, how you doing? I don't do the whole selling at the peak and then buying the dip. I just buy. Like, I don't give a fuck what the price is. Just give me more. That's it. I don't care. Just gimme. I will just keep accumulating it, and I don't sell. I don't swap. I just have it, and it's mine. That's what my brother-in-law did with AMC before Soft Squeeze, and is making crap tons of money now. Yeah, I do think the stock market is in for a massive rock. It's going to hit a massive hurdle very soon. I can see the stock market basically collapsing. I don't know. You guys in the US, has the Fed meeting started already? The Fed is having their giant meeting today, deciding what to do with interest rates. Do you know if the meeting has started already or if they're still busy with the meeting? Because that's going to be interesting. I don't think the Fed is going to raise rates, even though they should. But it's going to be bad. Think he'll jump before drops. Not yet. Akko hasn't started. Keep an eye on that meeting, by the way. What do you think is the risk of hyperinflation? It's not even a risk. It's a guarantee. Look, there's no way that you print trillions upon trillions of dollars worldwide and it does not devalue the currency of every single country in the world. So the way it's going to work is the US is probably going to collapse first. The US dollar is going to collapse within the next year, maybe two. Especially if Biden keeps printing money. Biden wants another $6 trillion to do, I don't know, some fucking bullshit plan of rebuilding infrastructure. That $6 trillion is going to devalue the US dollar even further. And for those of you that think it isn't happening, go to your local store and go buy something and tell me things aren't getting more expensive. They're getting more expensive because the US dollar is getting weaker. They're not. That's literally why things are getting more expensive, because the US dollar no longer has the capacity to purchase the same thing for the same price. That is the issue. Now, there are some supply shortages, and they're going to get even worse because on the supplier side, and by the way, prices are going to skyrocket within the next year. So if you don't have money already hedged against inflation, you're going to fucking suffer. And what's sad about this is, guess who suffers under inflation? Take a guess. Who do you think gets hurt most under inflation? No, the poor. The poor they are the ones who are destroyed by inflation. Inflation is the perfect tax because it's the tax that fucks the poor. Generally, countries can't tax the poor because the poor doesn't have money. But inflation doesn't give a fuck about that. Inflation says, hey, you're poor, I'm gonna screw you 6 ways from fucking Sunday. Why? Because the poor will have fuck all to buy. Their money will be absolutely worthless. Even if the US government paid more, all that would happen, and this is the sad part of inflation at the moment, is let's imagine that the US took Social Security payments or unemployment payments and they doubled it. What do you think happens? Prices double. So, sure, you now have $4,000 a month, but your mortgage has just doubled. Your food is just doubled. Everything is just doubled. So your money gets less and less. The worth goes down more and more every single time the US government prints more fucking money. The US government seems to be drunk as fuck on printing money. So what's going to happen is the US is going to be hit first. I believe that by the end of the year, the Federal Reserve will announce that they're going to have to increase interest rates because they won't have a choice. Inflation is running away. It's at 5%. It's at 5%. The people that keeps thinking that the US is going to get fixed thinks that the Federal Reserve can actually fix inflation. It can't fix inflation. The only thing it can do is it can heighten interest rates. What that does, it forces a recession. So as soon as the US government increases interest rates, it will be recession time. So the US will be hit by a massive recession. The stock market will tank overnight. Mortgages will tank overnight. Everything will fucking tank because it's recession time, baby. We're now going through some shit. The US is going to have to increase interest rates by a fuck ton in order to fight the inflation that they have created, thanks to the lockdowns and thanks to the money printing, which means they're going to print more money. They're just going to print more money because they're going to think the answer is keep printing, right? If we printed ourselves into this problem, we may as well try to print ourselves out of this problem. So they'll keep printing money. Inflation will get higher. Interest rates will have to go higher. And at some point, reality is going to meet the dream. And when reality meets the dream, it's a fuck up. 100%. So you should be hedging yourself against inflation right now. You should be doing everything in your power to hedge yourself against inflation. Oh, Alex, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's going to be far worse than 2008. Prior to 2008, the US interest rates was sitting at 2 point something percent. Interest rates were at something, I think 2%, 4%, somewhere there. Can't remember exactly. But what happened in 2008? As soon as the banks fucked everyone in the ass, what did the US do? They dropped interest rates to zero. This is how they stopped the recession from happening. They dropped interest rates to zero. Since then, interest rates have been zero. They've consistently been zero. So what do you do when the next recession hits? You're already at zero. What do you do when the next recession hits? How do you go from zero to lower? You can go into positive interest rates or negative interest rates, but that's horrible. Negative interest rates is how you fuck your country well and truly. Because that physically means you borrow $100 from the bank and you only pay back 90. Because it's negative interest rates. So money is actively now depreciating at a fundamental rate. So positive or negative interest rates doesn't work. They fix no problems. Countries have tried it in the past and it just goes downhill even faster. So that could never work. The US government has no tools left. The only way now is to bottom out. It needs to fall. The whole system needs to reset itself. People always look at recessions and they think they're bad. Recessions are amazing. You want to know why recessions are amazing? Recessions fix the government's fuck-ups. The reason we get bubbles, the reason we have this sick system that we have right now is because the government keeps interfering in business. Because capitalism no longer exists. Because the government keeps giving companies money. They keep creating these sort of gloomy, or not gloomy even, rosy sort of these rosy perfect conditions where people think that nothing could ever fucking happen, nothing could ever go wrong. For example, people blame the housing bubble of 2008 on capitalism. You do realize that the housing market in the US is the most regulated piece of market in the world. There's more regulations on the housing market than anywhere else in the US. Nothing is as regulated except for the banking sector, I believe, which coincidentally is the two things that caused the entire fucking collapse in 2008. So it's got nothing to do with capitalism. It has to do with the government interfering with business. Now, recessions are the way for the market to fix themselves from the sickness that the government introduces into the market. This is why in capitalism, the government isn't allowed to deal in the market. This is why capitalists believe that the government should get the fuck out of the market. The problem is that as long as government is in the market, recessions will be guaranteed. Because the government creates a bubble, the bubble gets bigger because the government keeps doubling down, and then once the bubble bursts, the recession starts. Now, if you are a responsible government, you allow the recession to play out. It's recession time. What's going to happen? A lot of companies are going to close down. A lot of banks are going to close down. A lot of things are going to go bankrupt. The government is probably going to shrink. There's going to be a lot of things that happen. But from that, rising from the ashes, new banks, new companies, new businesses, new government. That's how the market fixes itself. It's why the market is considered to be self-regulating, because it's built into it. It can regulate itself. The problem is, after 2008, the US government decided not to fix the economy, but instead keep introducing the sickness. They just keep giving people the sickness, and they refuse to give the cure. Because yes, the cure is going to make us feel bad, but it's also going to fix things. Sadly, that doesn't happen. Arias, how you doing, bro? Could screw up a wet dream. They really could. Companies and rich people are buying up homes in droves and selling them at a way higher price now. State governments have also been buying up all the houses that they had a hand in shrinking the value of. The government being part of business is such a fucking sickness. I love money, and I think money is a good thing. I'm hedging myself with cryptos, and then I've got stock in gold mines, as well as I've got stocks in one company in South Africa that sort of they focus primarily on construction. So I've got some stocks in those as well. So my stock portfolio is sort of, a lot of my money is in gold mines. A lot of my money is in this, like I would say 20% of my money is in this RMA, which is one of the biggest construction firms in South Africa. Because I think after everything gets fucked, this company is going to make a ton of money rebuilding. Then I've got a lot of stock in gold mines, because once the economy tanks, gold mines is going to become the new gold mine. So if you really want to make money, I believe that's where you should put your money. Don't buy gold. Just buy shares in gold mines. You're going to make so much more money than from buying gold, especially since you can't really get fucking gold. And then I've got a lot of crypto. By the way, Alex, thank you very much for the video. Really appreciate that. Alex, is there a way to get... So, I'll show you. Is Alex still here? Giovanni, I would definitely say expand. What is your two stocks? What stocks do you have? Oh, yeah. Have a good one. Yeah. You can. Most mines in the world is publicly traded. Where the fuck is Alex? Hold up. Let me quickly whisper him. One is a Chinese electric car company, and the other is to do with commercial space flights. I would definitely get my money out of China. It's on the can. I'm here now. All right, Alex. Thank you very much. Can we blow up the picture for Morganis? Even if you have to take a picture off of... what's that called again? WoW model viewer. Like a nice fucking picture that fills this entire area of the screen. Even if it is just his face, it doesn't have to be him. But yeah, if you can, I think that would look fucking brilliant. Yeah, but Giovanni, I would take my money out of China. If the US fails, China fails. Guaranteed. If the US fails, the US is China's biggest trading partner. When the US fails, when the US economy fails, China fails. As a result, Australia fails. As a result, the European Union fail. As a result, Africa fails. If the US falls, everyone falls. No, China doesn't really affect the world, slave to the cross. China has the biggest, China has almost zero trade surpluses. China doesn't, everything that China has, right, is bought from the rest of the world. They deal with massive trade deficits in China because they buy a shit, and yes, they sell to the rest of the world as well, but they import a fuck ton of things from the rest of the world as well. So China, if the US no longer buys from China, China has no trade surplus. The only reason China right now has a trade surplus is because of America. From all of the other countries, China has a deficit. For example, with Australia, China buys steel and I believe steel and silicone from Australia. They do the same thing from South Africa. They buy coal from us and they buy steel from us. So all of the other countries, China basically buys from. They don't export quite a lot to those. It's America that keeps buying everything that China makes. So if America falls, China is fucked. Because suddenly its biggest trading partner just died. Can't fucking support itself anymore. So China goes down, Australia goes down, the European Union follows, Africa follows. All of these countries just die instantly, and there's nothing that you can do about it. The world economy comes to a complete and utter standstill with no way to fix it. The world economy, and Slave to Crush, you're so spot on there. The world economy is extremely fragile, and we made it fragile because of globalization. You see, there's some benefits to globalization, but there's a lot of downsides to it. And we've learned that during COVID, and we're going to learn it the very hard way once the economic crash comes. You see, globalization is great whenever we're sharing cultures, wherever people can move to different countries, and we can sort of be part of the world. This is amazing when people can go on a holiday anywhere in the world and they can love it. The problem with globalization is the countries become so dependent on one another that when one falls, everyone follows. So basically, for the global economy to survive, you need all of the actors in the global economy to be responsible. What's the one thing we've learned from governments? Do governments strike you as very responsible? Steve, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Governments are not responsible, and they're the ones who needs to keep the global economy from fucking. They love spending other people's money. Exactly. Never mind, I looked it up. Thanks. I've been saying that since day one. Much responsible than your average person, for sure. Exactly. And they have all been acting incredibly irresponsible during COVID. My government, just for example, now increased the lockdown to level 3 again. Because there's another outbreak in South Africa. And the COVID lockdown didn't stop the first outbreak from happening. It didn't stop the second outbreak from happening. But the third one, that's gonna fucking work. That's gonna do it, right? The first outbreak happened with our very harsh restrictions in South Africa. There was a first wave, and it was a big one. The second one, we still had incredible lockdown restrictions. So South Africa was one of the most restricted countries on earth. I mean, we had cigarettes and alcohol banned. I mean, banned. You couldn't buy cigarettes, you couldn't buy alcohol, you could do fuck all. You couldn't even buy vaping liquid. Everything was locked down. First and second wave happened. Then they opened the economy. Took quite a long time, but the third wave is now upon us. And somehow this time around, the lockdowns are going to fix things. This is going to stop it. Dead in its fucking tracks. The only reason lockdowns are enforced is because politicians need to be seen as doing something. Even though we know they don't work. Extending lockdowns and kind of the India variant, I believe, and hell, they have had their lowest numbers coming in COVID death-wise, if I'm not mistaken. So we actually have the evidence is clear. We've looked at every single country throughout the world that had various levels of lockdown, and outside of a couple of countries that did better than most, the numbers are the same. Like, regardless of how strict you were in your lockdowns or how relaxed you were in your lockdowns, they were the same. The same amount of people got infected per capita. The movements were as expected from the very beginning. So it's clear now, scientifically speaking, that lockdowns don't work. And, we still do it because apparently, do the people in SA follow the lockdown? I know in the UK people didn't really care and just carried on from what I've witnessed. People in South Africa did follow it because no one wants to get in trouble with our police. In South Africa, it's a criminal offense to not wear your mask, and it's a criminal offense to be out after 10. And we don't have the kind of police departments here that will just tell you to go home or tell you to put on your mask. They will instantly arrest you, throw you in jail, where you will be raped over and over and over again. So no one wants to go to South African prison. So yes, people followed the lockdowns. We started on the media. I don't want to go to South African prison. South African prisons are fucking horrible. But no, I think the only thing I think works, and this is the thing that people should have just done anyways, is people should have worn their masks and people should have social distanced. You didn't need the lockdowns. You didn't need to lock down the world. If people wore their masks and people social distanced, that's all you needed. You didn't need anything else, and people would have done that. You see that now in places like Texas, where there's no more mask mandate, and people are still wearing their masks whenever they go inside. People are still social distancing whenever they go outside. Florida, the same thing. Living in Greece, I can only relate to a police state like you describe. Novak, I didn't know it was that bad in Greece. Slave to the cross. I have some opinions on vaccines. Being from Spain and having close friends from healthcare, I can tell you lockdowns flatten down the curve of infections. Alpha, yet the science shows that that's bullshit. Like, legit, the science shows the lockdowns did nothing. It didn't flatten the curve as they said it would. The funny thing is, the waves look exactly the same every single time. Like, the waves come, they stay for a while, and then they go back down. And there was actually a guy who did the studies. He went like way back. He went way back. He went for the last 200 years and followed every single one of the pandemics that we've had since then. And they all have these same waves. The waves of pandemics look the same every single fucking time. So it's not about flattening the curve. This is how they work. They don't do it any other way. So it doesn't matter what you do. They're going to do this regardless. Nicole, how you doing? Increase depends on the town. My police in my town doesn't give a fuck. You mean doesn't give a fuck, so just they'll do anything to destroy you? Or doesn't give a fuck, they don't really enforce any laws? Yes. Alex, this looks fucking beautiful. This looks beautiful. Did I download that video now? I can't remember. Hold up. No, I didn't. Fuck. Okay. Drethar, we've done the lore. They don't care if you wear a mask? Oh, no, in my country, they do fucking care. Different at least here. Whenever lockdown was more relaxed, everything went up. Alpha, so to give you a quick example of a country that should put all of your worries to rest. Sweden. Sweden never had a lockdown, never had a mandated lockdown. They never told people that they're not allowed to do anything. They never told people to stay at home. Sweden had a sort of please wear your mask. They didn't make it a criminal offense. They just told people please wear your mask. They told people to social distance, but it was never made a criminal offense. There was no lockdowns whatsoever in Sweden. and everyone was telling Sweden they're going to be overrun. It's going to be a fucking nightmare. It's going to be destructive. What happened in Sweden? Nothing. Yes, their numbers went up faster than any of their neighbors. So people got fucking COVID by the thousands. Guess what happened? Their neighbors now have the exact same numbers as they have. It just took longer. It just sort of took longer. But their neighbors are now exactly the same as they are. Because Sweden's numbers aren't really going up anymore. It's going up very slowly or not at all. And a lot of the numbers that is going up right now is sort of retroactively going up. So it's sort of people that already had it months ago are now testing positive for it because they have the antibodies in their blood. More the social distance, unlike other countries like Spain. Alpha, no, you can't really say that because the fact that Sweden's numbers did not do what people thought it did is proof that the lockdowns didn't work. But it's not just Sweden. Like I said, the scientific studies have now been done to death on this, and you can find it literally all over the internet. The scientific studies all show the exact same thing. No matter what countries did, no matter how harsh or how relaxed their lockdowns were, the numbers is exactly the same per capita. It looks exactly the same. Now, there's an argument to be made that if your healthcare system is under a lot of pressure and your healthcare system can't handle the amount of people that it's going to have to treat, that maybe a lockdown could help slow things down a little. But that was only really necessary at the start when we were told that we need to lock down to flatten the curve, and that we were told that that's going to be only for a month at most. We're now a year later, more than a year, and it's not fucking stopped. So what are you flattening now? You're flattening fuck all now. Now you're just taking the piss. I agreed with the first lockdown. Flattening the curve, let's do that. But now you're solving fuck all, right? Now you're just doing it for the fun of it. You're literally just, what I see now is politicians so jacked up on the power to tell people what to do. Like, politicians feel so amazing about the fact that they can tell people, yeah, stay in your fucking house, you piece of shit. I am your ruler now. I am your god and you will worship me. That they just keep coming up with these new fucking ideas of how to fuck people's lives over. Even though you're supposed to have flattened the curve now. You're supposed to have the hospitals. New York built all of those hundreds of new hospitals. None of them got used in the end. Like, the hospitals just stood empty. You had places like North Carolina, I believe it was North Carolina, that never had a lockdown. Their hospitals were never over 60% capacity, right? So the fact of the matter is, whatever governments are doing now makes no fucking sense. It makes no sense what governments are doing now. They're just scaring people into submission, and that's going to have very bad effects on us as a human species moving forward. These things aren't going to go away. You think young children, having lived through this lockdown, is going to grow up and not give a fuck? You're shaped by this. North Carolina had a lockdown. I think their schools are still closed. One of them didn't, either north or south, but one of them didn't. It's a lady that's the governor for the state, and she's Republican. They didn't have a lockdown at all. I can't remember whether it's North or South Carolina. Or maybe Dakota. There's the one. North Dakota. They didn't have a lockdown. It's one of the fucking north and south places in the US. I just remember hearing an interview with her about why she didn't do the lockdowns. Living Lambdons, how you doing, bro? I'm good. I think it's unrealistic to assume that there's a big bad circle of warlocks scheming to keep people indoors. If their goal was to make us submit, they would seriously get us out in the workforce again. Parascopic, I don't think it's one big group of people. I think it's just a mindset that these people have. Remember, if you go into government, what is it that you ultimately want to do? What do everyone that goes into government want to do? They want to control. No one goes into government because they give a shit about people. And I will challenge you to show me the fucking politician that you think goes into government to give back to the people. They don't. Politicians go into politics. They become fucking obscenely rich by going into politics, and then they use that money for their own gains. There isn't a single politician on the planet that goes into government to help people. They go in because they can control people. Because somehow, at some point, God knows when, we said, right? We said as a people, we said we no longer want kings and queens and monarchies. We want governments that we the people can control. They work for us. And we said democracy. That's the way forward. And then somehow, democracy turned into us now only being able to vote for our dictator. That's all democracy is. You get a choice in which dictator do you want. You're going to end up with a dictator either way, but which one do you want? Like, which one is the least oppressive to you? And these days in politics, it almost feels as if we vote for the person that will be the most oppressive to the people we don't like. We no longer give a shit whether or not it's a good bait. Just as long as he's going to piss off the other side, that's really all that fucking matters, right? You get to vote for your dictator. But these guys don't go into politics because they want to fucking help out. This is why I'm an anarchist. Just really want to go in and help people. The system swallows them up pretty quickly, and thus the swamp grows. Exactly. If we swap the base pay of politicians with our grade school teachers, we'd have less snakes in office and smarter children in the future. Rhinos, then I would actually argue that most of the teachers should be fucked off as well, because a lot of teachers are also just as horrible. Also, state entities that literally just go to suckle at the teeth of the government. I'm not saying all teachers. There are good teachers, of course there are, but most teachers are also completely fucking useless. We used to have a saying in school. Teachers are adults among kids and kids amongst adults. And I've never met a teacher. Well, no, I'm lying. I have met teachers that have proven that wrong. But the vast majority of teachers that I've met have proven that right. They are not adults. They should not be in charge of teaching our kids fuck all. They go in there because they know that they have a job for life. Firing a teacher is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your fucking life, considering all the union shit that you will have to deal with. Teachers are basically employed. They have tenure from the day that they start right up until the day that they leave. And usually for a lot of teachers, that's whenever something better comes along. So I would say teachers is just as fucked up. Basically, I think the government itself is just a big cesspool. Anyone that works for the government is part of that cesspool and needs to get out. System is jacked, yeah, but I've had some really good teachers in the US. I had some good teachers and I had some truly pathetic teachers. My brother, for example, is someone that I consider to be a really good teacher. I've seen the amount of work that he does. He works himself to death. He sits there every evening working out new things, reading up on new things, trying to figure out new ways to teach bad students. And when I say bad students, I mean people that struggle to learn. He's always trying to figure out, how can I teach them? How can I make it so that they're interested in what I teach? But if I just listen to him, to the amount of teachers that do the same as he does, it's almost no one at his school that does as much as he does to try and teach kids. The vast majority go in, collect their paycheck, and fuck off. That's it. They just sort of show up. I do agree on that statement. Most of the teachers here aren't in it for the kids. It's because of the nice holidays they get and all that. Not all of them, but many, definitely. The good teachers are nothing more than human shields for the bad teachers and their unions. Most good teachers go into private education. The age of commerce. When you lie to government, they put you in prison. But when government lies to you, it's called being a politician. That's one of the things I've never been able to understand. It's one of the things I've never been able to fucking understand. Why do people forgive politicians? Why? You know how often I hear it? Oh, that's just politicians, you know. What are you talking about? We pay them to do a job and they're okay. They can just lie to us and we just say, oh, you know, that's politicians for you. Like I said, anarchy. It's the only system that's going to fix this shit. And by fix it, I mean it won't fix shit. But you won't have to worry because you can fix your own life. I'm not saying that anarchy will ever solve anything. It's not the job of anarchy to solve anything. That's the nice thing about anarchy. It doesn't pretend to solve anything. You have problems, you solve your fucking problems. It's not up to anyone else to solve your problems. There's no big government that's going to come in and save you. You save you. And under anarchy, you will have absolute freedom to do exactly that. But now, you are here on stream. I'm sure you was a great teacher. Oh yeah, I think Germania was definitely a good teacher. We can't fix it without taking out a brick that's under below. It will make everything crumble. But I think it should crumble. I want the system to fail. I think the system should get fucked. I'm looking forward to the coming calamity, to use a word from Final Fantasy. I'm looking forward. I think the system is sick. It should crumble. It should fucking die. We should be teaching kids how to be an adult, realistic life shit, not some trig factors in calculus you likely won't be using in your career. Rhino's Day, now that's what I don't agree with. Because most people do not understand why mathematics is important. Most people seem to think that you're never going to use the calculus, you're never going to use the trigonometry, so why the fuck am I learning this? Mathematics is about teaching someone rationality and critical thinking. That's all mathematics is. Because in mathematics, there is no my truth, your truth, or whatever the fuck. There's only this is how you fucking do it. And it's about problem solving. It's about teaching kids how to solve problems, finding the correct way to solve the problem. Now, are we teaching mathematics the correct way? Probably not. Because we have fucked up teachers that don't know what the fuck they're doing. But if we had good teachers that actually understood why they're teaching math, they would understand that it is a fundamental skill for people to know how to be rational, for people to understand what rationality is all about, what critical thinking is all about, and why it's so important to be rational, and why mathematics is logical, right? It's about logic, it's about rationality, it's about critical thinking. So it's very important as far as I'm concerned. Even though I sucked at math, right? I barely scraped by in mathematics. Granted, I didn't study at all, but I did suck at it. I got like 35% to my end year exam, and 35% was literally pass rate. If I got 1% less, I would have failed. Entirely would have failed. I literally just went off of what I remember in the class. Like the teacher explained how to do this, and I went, okay, I remember what she said there. I'll just write that down. I was very good in languages. I was very good in economics. I was very good in business economics. I was not good in mathematics because I found it boring. What do you do with a square peg that doesn't fit the round hole, though? Rhinostein, it's still the same rules for mathematics still apply. Like I said, it's still about helping students. So here's one of the biggest mistakes that the West have made, as far as I'm concerned. One of the biggest mistakes the West have made that the East have not made. People oftentimes wonder, the people with the highest IQs in the world are Jewish people first, and then it's Asian people, right? Highest IQs in the world. What's the difference between them and the rest of the world? The rest of the world has sort of embraced this teaching philosophy of emotional teaching, right? So we should care about the emotional well-being of students. In the East, that doesn't fucking matter. You're there to learn. That's literally, it's not based on race. Fuck that. Anyone that believes that it's based on race haven't made people like fucking names now. Larry Elder. People like literally, what the fuck is his name now? Thomas Sowell. It's my favorite economist, and I couldn't remember his name. I can tell you now, Thomas Sowell is fucking well intelligent, right? So it's not based on race. Anyone that thinks that it is a fucking moron. It's based on culture. It's based on what do you teach your kids when they're growing up, right? That's what it's based on. Now, it happens to be that there are sort of racial discrepancies, but that's just because where people grew up. In 100 years from now, those racial discrepancies will not exist, I guarantee you, because you're going to get kids growing up all over the place, and they're all going to be either as stupid as everyone else around them, or as intelligent as everyone else around them. That's it. Because how do you teach your kids? In the East, you're there to learn. And it has fuck all to do with, how happy you are, how emotionally safe you are. None of that. You're there to learn. That's it. We're teaching you mathematics. We're teaching you language. We're teaching you how to be a good human being and know things, right? That's it. That's all they focus on. In the West, we've sort of said, no, but we have to care about what kids feel. How do they feel? How do they think? Their emotional development. And what has happened? Kids have gotten stupider and stupider over time. Look at Japan, massive suicide rates and crippling population and birth rate. What you're talking about is why. Parascopic, that's not necessarily the only reason why, but you do have a point. There is a... So, I think in the East, they've gone too far to one side. In the West, we've gone too far to the other side. Whereas both could do with coming back to the center. I am not saying that you should beat a child senseless until it can do the fucking math problem on the board, right? But I'm also saying that what the kid feels is the right answer shouldn't automatically be the right fucking answer just because the kid feels that that's the right answer, which is what a lot of schools do now. Like, I kid you fucking not, a lot of schools do that now. Like, there's no one right answer. It's really... based on your truth. What the fuck are you talking about? 2 + 2 is 4. Doesn't matter what you think the truth is. It's 4. It's always going to be 4. There's nothing you can fucking say that's going to change that. And you can't pretend that it's not because this kid thinks it's 5. It's 4, you fucking moron. That's it, right? It's sadly what it is. Unit minus, and he get the bullwhip. He is getting 20 lashes. Like I said, I think one group in the West, we've gone way too far to the one side. In the East, they've gone way too far to the other side. Both create human beings that isn't ready for the real world and probably will never be ready for the real world. The only way to really fix it is to bring them into the same world, right? They need to know that life isn't fair. Life is harsh. You have to learn. That's it. There's nothing else you can do. I think that right answer, art is so subjective and makes all artists cry. But I like 11. Hey, you can believe that 2 + 2 is 11. If you like it, you can believe that. It's wrong, but you are allowed to believe it. Parascopic, it's something that's been discussed, I believe, in California. The state legislature, I don't know if they've done it yet, but they've sort of been discussing reinventing the way education happens, right? And their idea is now to work around more feeling-based education. I don't know if it's going to pass, but it is something that's been brought up. And the fact that it's been brought up tells you that it's probably going to pass within the next decade. Within the next decade, your kid is going to come home to you, and it's not going to be the little ray of sunshine that you had hoped that he would be, because your kid is going to come home and say that 2 + 2 is 10. He's going to be the biggest moron you've ever seen in your life, and you're just going to have to go, well, fuck. I have literally sent my kid to school to become a moron. This is fucking lovely. There's nothing you can do about it. Have you read any text from Oswald Spengler, Decline of the West, maybe? I have not, Novak. I have not. What's it about? We're going to raise a world of pussies if it happens? Truth. I don't know. I think I'll have to look that up because it sounds undefined. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, Parascopic. I can give you examples from South Africa as well. South Africa follows the US education system quite closely. In South Africa, for example, there's movements now to try and banish science because science is racist, and therefore science should be removed from schools. They've even had a new thing called African mathematics that they want to introduce into schools. where the argument is that modern day mathematics is colonialist and therefore should not be preached in schools, but instead they should have a new kind of mathematics that is based on, I don't know, whatever the African mathematics version of mathematics would be. Which, I mean, how is mathematics anything to do with colonialism? It's literally the science of the universe. If anything, there's nothing more universal than mathematics. Biology, astronomy, advanced sciences in grade 6. We should not add politics, Giant Rat Guy. We should remove politics entirely. We should teach kids to think for themselves. Just because US is on an education decline doesn't mean it will affect the rest of the world. I am truly saddened by where the US is going, but that's their fault. Slave to the Cross, it will definitely affect the rest of the world. Sad to say, but it will definitely affect the rest of the world. People don't seem to realize always just how big the US is. I see this quite often from many people who, especially in Europe, Europeans will oftentimes rejoice at some of the bullshit that happens in the US. The sad part of that is when something happens in the US, it will invariably show up in the rest of the world. Just give it time. It will fucking happen. Anyone is changing maths, but I appreciate the laws in chat. But Coptic, believe me. There's a famous YouTube clip of one of the teachers at a university speaking about how mathematics should be removed in science also. Man was wealthy because he was powerful. Now he is powerful because he has money. Intellect reaches the throne only when money puts it there. Democracy is the completed equating of money with political power. Equating of money with political power. Shit, Novak, I probably should read that. I have another book that I first want to read, and then once I've read that, I will read Oswald Spengler. I'm sort of hinkering. I want to get fucking names, dude. Mother cunt. Michael Malice. So it's the newest book from Michael Malice. The Anarchist Handbook. Oh, Les is Babby. We sort of went too long tonight with the political discussions, but now I'm fucking sad that I didn't just go for it. So this is the book that I want. I want this book. It's a collection of all the most famous anarchists in the last 200 years, probably. People who actually died for their convictions. There's, for example, one German guy that stood inside the courtroom and screamed at the judge, telling him that we will blow you up with dynamite, as the judge was giving him his death sentence. He just refused to back down. He just said, fuck you. I do not recognize this courthouse. I do not recognize your authority over me. And if you wish to murder me, that's your choice. But do not call it the death penalty. Call it murder, because that's what it is. And he actually invited the judge. He said, kill me, because we will kill you with dynamite. If you kill us with bullets, we will kill you with dynamite. Now, he was obviously a lot more violent than what I would like my anarchist to be. But it's sort of interesting to hear the amount of people that have died for their... No, Marxism is not anarchy. The Marxism that Karl Marx envisioned was similar to it, but what Marxism became wasn't anarchy. Why would murder be a problem for anarchy? Why do you say murder is a problem? There's really only one problem that anarchy doesn't have a good solution to, and that would be child abuse. Because oftentimes what we do with children, because they're dependents, we ask the government to make sure that kids are safe and not abused. Now, anarchy doesn't have a good solution to child abusing, but I'm sure it could come up with one. Murder, on the other hand, is a fairly easy issue to solve. I don't see why anarchy would have an issue with murder. The system works. Of course it does. I'll ask you this. If the system works so well, how many people actually have access to the courts? Just think about the law system, the system of law. Your average Joe doesn't have access to the courts. Getting a lawyer, far too expensive. You would bankrupt yourself if you wanted to take someone to court. So if the system worked, then it would be cheap to take someone to court. Nothing works. The entire system should be burned to the fucking ground. What are the keys that Jailer wants? Are like the rings of power from the Lord of the Rings. I can see Blizzard going that direction, Draythor. I can definitely see Blizzard going that direction. It seems like something that Blizzard would love to do. Do I want that? Well, we know that the keys are important because they unlock knowledge. Some kind of forbidden knowledge, hidden knowledge that they've never had before. And it could absolutely be that the keys would give him the power of the rings. Like similar to what the rings did in Lord of the Rings. But it wouldn't be exactly like the Lord of the Rings. And the reason being there wouldn't be one ring to rule them all. Otherwise you would want to give them the sigils, right? Abuse, torture, slavery, all that. If we're talking about the dissolution of governments at every level. Parascopic, not necessarily. Because again, no one said that an anarchist society, right? So first and foremost, what people need to remember is anarchy is not a system. It's a relationship. You and I, by the way, every single one of you in chat and me, we have an anarchist relationship right now. You guys do realize it, right? Literally no one is forcing you to be here, and no one is forcing me to be here. We are here because we want to be here. If I say something that offends you, you're not going to phone the police. If you say something that offends me, I'm not going to phone the police. So this is an anarchist relationship that we have right now. That's what anarchy is. It's a relationship. It's not a system. Now, when you and I decide to start a community, an anarchist community, there is every reason to believe that we would have Ninja Bears. Thank you for the 2 months up. I really fucking appreciate that. 19 months in a row. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's nothing that stops us from saying we want a police force, but we want a private police force. One where the rules of the area is enforced. Under anarchy, the only rules that really exist is private property, so you're not allowed to take something that belongs to me. And as long as what you do doesn't hurt me, I can do whatever the fuck I want. But that's it. As long as I don't hurt anyone else, I can do whatever the fuck I want. Now, that doesn't stop me, for example, from employing a private corporation to keep me safe. So if you do murder me, that private corporation will arrest you for the murder, and they will make sure that you get punished for that murder. Because I employed them, and in the same vein, you will employ your own private security company to keep you safe. So if I murder you, you will again get fucked. All of these are things that can very easily be fixed in an anarchist system. That's very true, Malite. The amount of people that listen so there is a distinct difference between anarchy as in, oh my god, it's anarchy, it's chaos, and anarchy as a political system or as a political idea. Because anarchy as a political idea, the fundamental, and I'm borrowing from Michael Malice here, But the fundamental rule for anarchy, the best way to describe it is you do not speak for me. That's it. That's literally how you define anarchy. You do not speak for me. Nothing in this world can give you power over me. I have my own power and I have power over my life. That's what anarchy is. It's not chaos. It's not what it's meant to be. The difference between a system and a relationship is that the former is codified. They seem to be the exact same thing, just one is written down. Not necessarily. Because let's imagine you're unhappy with your police force. What are you going to do? Periscopic. Let's imagine that you are unhappy with your police. What are you going to do about it? So I just want to be very clear here. Anarchy will not solve the world's problems. You're still going to have murder. You're still going to have rape. You're still going to have bad things happen because there's human beings involved. Wherever human beings are involved, there's bad things that's going to be. But those things are happening right now under dictatorships as well. And before you go, well, dictatorships, dude, of course they're happening under, but not democracies. They're fucking happening under democracies. Democracy is just a nice word for dictatorship. Why do people think that there's a difference between one candidate and two? Are you telling me the fact that you have two people that you can vote for on the ballot makes it less a dictatorship than if you had one? It's still a dictatorship. None of that changes. You just get to vote for your dictator, but you're still going to get a dictator for the next 4 years. So those things happen under dictatorships just as much as they happen under just as much as they would happen under anarchy. The difference in anarchy is we will probably find ways to solve them far, far quicker. And the reason being, if I have a place that people are getting raped often, and there is a security firm that's supposed to keep that place safe, I fire them and I get a new one. When your police fucks up and they don't keep you safe, what are you going to do? You're not going to fire the police. You don't have the authority. They're the ones who rule you. You can't do anything. Whereas if it's a private company, you can tell them to get the fuck out. They're not doing their job. And Prosper, the size does matter. That's my humble opinion. If people want to think radical, I don't think there is a fair system capable of handling masses that big. Where a man shall say to his assailant, if I live, I will kill you. If I die, you are forgiven. Such is the rule of honor. Here's my question to you. What do you have to lose? Parascopic, the problem is the superiors are the corrupt ones. You really think that the bad actors are in the foot soldiers? The bad actors are the ones at the top because they want to be at the top because that gives them the most power. So, no. Again, if you had a free market system where all these things were taking place, you would be able to get rid of anyone that isn't doing their job far quicker than you would be able to do it in the systems that we have these days. Skewed a bit though, Akalon. I live in Canada and you live in South Africa. Average standard of living is a polar opposite. Grathor, not necessarily. I would challenge you to come to South Africa, apart from national problems that I can't get away from. So, for example, load shedding. If you came to my area, it is incredibly safe, probably more safe than most places in Canada. The chances of me getting robbed or murdered or anything in the area that I live in, because it's completely gated off. I have a complete private security force that keeps me safe. Cameras covering literally every square foot of the property that I live in. So I have access to world-class malls, world-class shops, world-class everything. So in many ways, my life it costs a little bit more than yours does, because, you know, I have to pay for those comforts, and other than completely getting fucked, of course. Because if you don't pay for those comforts, you will get robbed, you will get murdered, you will get raped, you will get all sorts of shit happening to you. But my general experiences in life has been very similar to yours. How do I know that? I've been to the UK. The UK wasn't that different to South Africa, at least the South Africa that I grew up in. Like, I didn't feel it was that much different. There were things that I wasn't aware of, like things that I wasn't used to in the UK, but it was similar in many ways, like at least living experiences. Actually, I would say living in South Africa is a bit better than living in the UK. For example, you very rarely find properties here with no gardens. Most properties have massive gardens. Outside of that, I do prefer the UK, but that's just because I like the rain and like the cold. Maple syrup is a currency. Is it really, though? If you get to Montreal, I will teach you to become a maple sucking pro puck slapper. I would likely not move to Canada. Like, Canada is one of the few countries that I have no real interest in ever living in. I would love to visit Canada because I think it's a beautiful country, but I wouldn't want to live there. I just have fundamental disagreements with Canadians on how I think the world should be ordered. Guttural Echo, Piramiro, thank you very much for hanging out, dude. Really appreciate it. Take care of yourself, bro, and I hope you enjoyed the first crazy fucking stream. Would you get fucked up if you went outside your area of protection? Drathor, not if I just went outside, right? So I could drive around and I could go places, but after a certain time of night, yes, you would probably get robbed at gunpoint. You know, you'd get hijacked. It gets more dangerous if you leave after certain times or if you live outside of this area. And it's not just this area. There's plenty of areas like mine. For example, I'm surrounded by estates that all have 24-hour security. They all have electric fencing. You know, so it's a big area that has these comforts or necessities, if you will. But then it also depends on the city that you live in. Would they be like, oh shit, there is a rich white boy, let's rob his ass? It's not just white people. It's black people get robbed more than white people, actually. It's just, you have a country with almost 40%, more than 40% unemployed. How are they going to fend for themselves? How are they going to live? They have to steal, right? They have to turn to crime. You even have crime schools that's been uncovered now. Oh, there's tons of poor white people. There's actually just a few, I think it's like 20, 30 minutes away from me, drive. You'll get to like a white community of squatters. It's like a massive sort of city almost of people that's lost jobs and can't find jobs. Macmillan, how you doing, bro? But then, of course, you go literally the other direction and you get massive areas where black people are also unemployed, can't find jobs, can't find homes. South Africa is just a collection of failed political decisions. It's all down to the government. My hatred of government definitely comes from where I live, Trethor, so in that regard, you do have a point. Where I grew up in, I've realized that government is horrible and government should never be trusted with anything. The only difference between you and me is I have already learned that because of how stupid my government is. You are yet to learn that, but you will eventually. That's the only difference. It's a timeline issue. South Africa just very quickly taught me how fucked up a government is. In Canada, it's not gotten bad enough yet, but it will eventually. The only way that governments can go is absolute dictatorships. I was born here, Wimmering, yes. Born and raised. Alone would make a person absolutely loathe the government. Yeah, the energy issues is a huge issue. Wasn't that dude supposed to make Africa green again? What's his name? He is super smart, they say. Super rich too, a philanthrope. You're talking about Bill Gates. It'll happen. Governments are just, I don't know. I don't like them. Elon Musk would do nothing for Africa. Elon Musk is from South Africa, but he is definitely not. He is not. He doesn't care about Africa. Oh, Drethor, don't worry. Justin Trudeau is one of the reasons I will never move to Canada. I'm not going to say that your other party is any better, because they're really not. I've listened to some of their speeches as well, and it's like, I feel bad for Canadians. It's really, literally, you have a choice between two bowls of shit, and you have to choose the one that smells less. But the fact that people in Canada could vote that moron into office doesn't give me a lot of hope for the future of Canada. Because if that guy that has proved how fucking moronic he is time and time again, right? I mean, time and time again, that guy has proven how fucking moronic he is, and he still won. It's like, well, the next guy can't be much fucking better. What do people in SA generally think of Elon? I don't think they care about him. So South Africa is, for all of its beauty, it's a deeply, like, from a political standpoint, from top to bottom, it's a deeply racist country. It's a country that genuinely does not give a fuck. If you're not the right color, you are really not as welcome as you should be, considering that everyone should be able to live wherever the fuck they feel most comfortable to live, right? So I don't think I've never heard any of our politicians saying that. Now, this isn't true for the general people. The general population doesn't look at the world that way. And that gives me a lot of hope for the future of South Africa. Because the general population doesn't care what color you are. They just care if you're a good person or not. But the politicians, they have their sort of race wars that they're constantly fueling the fire for because it gets them elected. And they don't give a shit. So I don't really know what the general population thinks of Elon. He's not a big deal in South Africa, from what I can tell. Mainly because nothing he does impacts South Africa. I mean, I will... I don't see why people keep defending politics and politicians. I don't get it. Like, what have they ever done for you? Like, seriously, I'm asking anyone in chat right now. What have your politicians ever done for you? Like, has any of your politicians... Like, the only politician I would vote for is one that comes to my house and gives me a hand job. Like, I would probably consider, because that's like a commitment at least. He's trying, or she's trying, right? Maybe I'll support that person because at least they're doing something. But short of that, should you really, like... I'm not talking about you, Parascopic, I'm talking in general. Short of that, do they really matter? Should we really care what happens to them? I tell people when I vote, it doesn't change anything. And they say if you don't vote, they will steal it like they do in other countries. I would say don't vote to begin with. If you vote, you're part of the problem. Again, I'm going to borrow something here from Michael Malice, but he made a very good point that I think is worth remembering. When you hire a lawyer, you give all of your power to that attorney, right? That attorney can do basically whatever the fuck they want now because you've given them the power to do so. They are now your lawyer. They are your spokesperson. They decide what is going to happen to you. When you cast your vote for a politician, you give your voice away. Your voice now belongs to that politician. You can't complain anymore because that politician speaks for you. I am the only one, the only person that can complain, me and people who don't vote, because we didn't take part in this farce. I'm the only person that can complain about things because I didn't hire a lawyer. I literally just said, fuck that. None of these guys are what I want to vote for, so screw it. So I'm actually, like, me and people who don't vote are the only people that can't complain because we constantly get fucked in the ass by people who do vote. You can fire a lawyer. Sadly, you can't fire your fucking president. Don't care if the law would say different. It's not a bad analogy. It is literally, it's the best analogy you can come up with for a fucked up system, the Mighty Ocean. The reason why it's a good analogy is because it's you lending your voice to someone else. It's you lending your voice to someone else. So you are lending your voice. You're giving your voice away to someone else. Now, that's the only reason it's the best analogy that you have. If you vote, you're giving your voice to a politician. You can't now be angry if that politician says things that you didn't want. You voted for that guy. It's your fault that he's in office. Now you have to take what this guy is doing to you because you voted for him. And if you didn't vote for him and your man lost, well, happy to the dictatorship for the next 4 years. When your politicians are purchased, you just pay with your ass instead. It doesn't do what you want. You fire him and get one that will. But Mighty Ocean, I don't know if you're disagreeing with me or making my points on my behalf. Because if you had the power to fire your politician, we would already be in a much better place. You're just making it worse, which is literally the point I'm making. But at the end of the day, it plays the same thing. I think you're looking too hard into the analogy and not looking at what the analogy is trying to explain broadly. You can recall politicians, but how? How hard is it? And how often does it succeed? Almost never. Parascopic, the problem is that presidents and politicians are beholden to no one. Most of the time, it's a group instead of a single person. Need a large support and outcry from the public to recall. Look, if you believe that this system is working the way that it should, if you believe that this system is working as it should, then hey, more power to you. If you think that you can fix this system, I would advise you to look at the origins of the US and where the US is now. And then realize that that is the exact flow for every single democracy, for every single government. That flow will always remain the same. They start off as your servants, they end as your master. That's it. It will always happen that way. Nothing you can do about it. So then the question becomes, why do you keep voting, or why do you keep wanting a master? Because they're never going to stay your servant. There's so much power, so much fucking power in government. What makes you think that they're going to stay your servant for long? Kadobi, how you doing, bro? Parascopic, the problem is that the word beholden there suggests that they have to do what they promise, which is literally not the case. They are beholden to no one because politicians are famous for promising a whole bunch of crap and then delivering on absolutely fuck all of that crap once they get the power. So they might be beholden in terms of the lies that they tell to everyone to get the majority support, but once they're in power, they genuinely don't give a fuck. Terms seem to be limited. I'm sick of these unknowledgeable old people. So I would side with true herald of power who defined that darkness and the power of darkness is evil and light being the good. There is no such as evil or good. There is only one true herald of power, that's death. And those who shaped its victory. We pay them, they represent us, yet they tell us what the fuck we're supposed to do with our lives. I'm telling you, we need Sylvanas. The only thing a politician is beholden is remembering the lies, so they play out together, play out longer. What do you mean they fade into obscurity? Periscopic, they really don't. You think presidents fade into obscurity? Barack Obama is making more money now than he made in office by giving speeches, writing fucking books. He's a celebrity now. He didn't fade into obscurity. Every president makes millions of dollars by giving speeches, by doing all sorts of crap, all based on the lies that they told at the start. They don't fade into obscurity. Yeah, when they finally get too old, or you have a concerted effort, for example, you know, the how do you put it? The only person that right now is having a hard time after his presidency is Trump, because, you know, the media and the conglomerates have sort of decided to shut him down and shut him out. But he's still talking. I still see every once in a while videos where he's talking about something. I'm not entirely fucking sure what he's talking about. I don't really watch political videos, to be honest. But outside of that, they become fucking superstars once they leave office. My silence us, so we think we're alone. Periscopic, what do you mean fulfilled? I don't agree with that at all. I think if you look at the number of promises that was made during his campaign versus the promises that was not kept during his campaign, I would argue his failed column is far greater. The difference was just that the media never reported on any of the failures. At the end of the day, we can talk about this forever and never really reach consensus, which is fine. That's what human beings are. And one of the things I love about my chat is how everyone has their own idea of what they believe the right way should be. It would have been very boring if I sat here and all of you were just saying what I said. I would have been very fucking bored. Because then I may as well just be talking to myself, because everyone is just agreeing with me. So I like seeing how everyone has different opinions on things. Because it at the end of the day, there's no growing unless we can all agree on where to grow to. But then that makes it very difficult, because almost none of us can agree where we need to grow to. I do love these convos we have. I love them too. Majority of Americans aren't paying attention to what is happening. Many do, but enough don't. That things won't change. Like I said, my favorite fucking quote from any politician everywhere. Well, actually, I think it might be my second favorite quote. But it comes from Winston Churchill. That said, if you want to know why democracy doesn't work, spend 5 minutes talking to the average voter. And I thought to myself, man, that guy has it. My favorite quote, I think, from any politician would be from Margaret Thatcher. And not because I really care about her. I don't really give a shit about Margaret Thatcher. But her quote was still really cool. Socialism only works as long as you have enough of other people's money. Socialism fails once you run out of other people's money. Oh, Parascopic. I am friends with people from everywhere. I have friends that's completely on the left. I have friends that's completely on the right. I have friends that's completely in the center. None of it bothers me. Because I don't think your political opinion matters. Norvin, how you doing, bro? I don't think your political opinion defines you as a person. I've met great people on the left, great people on the right. I've met fucking horrendous people on the left and horrendous people on the right. So I don't think your political opinion defines you. And I like the fact that there are abilities or areas in which we can disagree. Because at the end of the day, from my perspective, if we can't agree on things, we can't learn, right? I'm not expecting that I'm going to change anyone's mind or move anyone over to anarchy. But if we have a conversation and I say something that maybe moves you just a little bit to one side, that's a good conversation. You say something that moves me a little bit to a side, that's a good conversation. Because together we are getting a little bit better at defining what we want the world to be. The problem is if we do not allow people to speak their opinions, then we're not moving anywhere. We're never going to get to a place where we're fixing anything because no one is allowed to say shit. We live in a world where identity is everything and tribalism forces you to identify with these things. I luckily don't belong to any fucking tribe. Avori, how you doing? Side doesn't matter, but if you play Alliance, XD. Fucking PogChamp. Have you watched this FF boss mechanic? Dzak, no, but I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to the Final Fantasy bosses. We'll probably do some gameplay tomorrow because I'm not going to be streaming on Friday. Hey, Tilio, how you doing? Friday, I have a video that I need to make that's going to take a long time to fucking make. And, I have some shopping and stuff that I need to do Friday. Finally, I met you here. Always wanted to support you, but I do not like Patreon. Avori, I'm very happy to have you here. And welcome. Is this your first stream, in other words? Lucky Penguin, I haven't played WoW for a while. I played the PTR right up until the last things for Korthia was introduced. I did sort of the new Korthia, if you will. And then there's nothing left to do on PTR. So unless I want to destroy the game for myself completely... also, playing retail just seems like a complete fucking bore fest at the minute because I've done everything. I've done what I wanted to do. I played retail 2 weeks ago. Avori, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Really fucking appreciate that. Welcome to the Fat Fuckers Club. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Avori, I really appreciate that. So I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy at the moment. I've really been enjoying Final Fantasy. So yeah, but I will be playing WoW. I'm not done with WoW. Look, WoW has a lot of problems and a lot of things that I wish could be fixed, but I don't for a second think that WoW is dead or that WoW is going to die. I'm hopeful that in time, Blizzard will fix their shit and they will find a way to make the game good again, as good as it needs to be. So yeah, that's really all I care about. All right, Germanio. Blizzard needs to release the chokehold on players. Blizzard needs to do a lot of things. Maybe let's get them to start releasing 9.1. And then once they've released 9.1, we can start talking about them no longer shoving their dicks in our asses. When we didn't ask for it. Wrath, baby. So it's been cool to get to experience TBC. Steve, I played TBC when it was current, so going back and playing it again, not my idea of fun. Wish retail was called Live WoW to better distinguish from Classic, BC. Both are technically retail. I mean, I think most of us know what it is, so it's fine. Audrey, how you doing? Overlord. Oh, I like that. I could do with being the overlord of the world. Like, let everyone submit to me, and then I enforce anarchy, and then the world is great. I personally think they are delaying 9.1 to let TBC die out a bit. I don't think so, Lucky Penguin. I think they're genuinely just behind schedule. I haven't really... quick lore question. What do you think the chances of Elune is actually Azeroth? Kenobi, 0. I think... I genuinely don't think that Elune is Azeroth, mainly because we have evidence of Elune being part and parcel of the creation or the formation of Azeroth, the ordering of Azeroth. So Azeroth definitely at one point existed as a separate entity to Elune. I spent my whole life in TBC vanilla, so I will not join it, but for everybody who missed it, I would recommend it. If you've never played TBC, you must play it. It's one of the best expansions in the World of Warcraft series ever. Have OCD? You really have OCD, Periscopic? Yes, but I'm more worried for this expansion because Blizzard does have a bad track record of whenever they do fall too far behind, they just instantly scrap the rest of the expansion and start working on the next one. So I'm more worried for this expansion than what I am for the next expansion. What are you about there maybe not being a 9.3 and the 9.2 might be... I'm on board with it. I think that is what's going to happen, but I do think that's going to hurt the game very, very much. Because I don't think Shadowlands lore really allows for that. If you rush the lore in Shadowlands, you're going to have a very hard time with the rest of the fucking story. A few others as well. It can be rough. Fuck, I can imagine. Periscopic. Talk Evil said, cool thing. Democracy will end when government understands that they can buy their people their own money. I will add, or they open society for elements from out of the culture and basic formation, especially bad, lazy people. Northern, I've heard that quote before about democracy will end when the government understands that they can buy their people their own money. And I agree with it, which is exactly what's been happening now, right? The mighty Osen, remember that. So we're going to get, if we get 9.2, we're probably going to get it much later, right? I think people should strap in. It's going to be, this is going to be a slow expansion. Things are going to move very, very slowly. I don't know if they even start work on 9.2. So that means that we'll probably know how far 9.2 is going to be out, depending on when 9.2 launches on the PTR. But I genuinely think Blizzard needs to take a good hard fucking look at themselves. Blizzard needs to decide what does it want to be. I don't even think it's COVID. It's this insistence that they have on big patches only. That's what's destroying them. They want these giant fucking patches, and it doesn't work. By now they should have realized that it doesn't work. And yet, they still haven't figured it out. All this time, Blizzard have yet to figure out that, hey, you know what really doesn't work? Our big patch system. COVID screws non-agile companies. True. That is very true, Mighty, and I agree with that point. Bay, where new players start on that Castaway Island. Seven Raven. What do you mean? You're talking about Odin? No, it's COVID plus their internal approach to game design. Bad combo. It was a long time coming. COVID exacerbated it, I think. Oh, she was talking to your comment. Okay, Ovary. I'm afraid that they closed story in 9.2. You and me both, Northern. You and me fucking both. COVID for sure affected Blizzard, but they are trying to use that as a crutch. They have bigger problems internally that is causing the delays, I think. Absolutely. But COVID would not have caused the delays if they didn't have inherent problems within the company. The fact that COVID is putting Blizzard this far behind tells you that all is not smooth sailing at Blizzard. Because, yes, it would be slightly harder to work from home, but most other games are doing exactly that with very few problems. ESO is doing it, Final Fantasy is doing it, their games aren't really being pushed back, their patches aren't really being pushed back. They seem to be going very strong, even though COVID has hit. So the fact that Blizzard can't do it with COVID tells you that there is an inherent problem within the company's structures that is causing it nearly impossible. Like, it's rendering it incapable of doing anything. Norman, we're not using the COVID excuse. I mean, literally, we're not using the COVID excuse. Joanne, welcome back. Prepared and organized correctly, you save time and resources working from home? To some extent, yes. In others, not necessarily. Do some dinner. I have cauliflower, lean meat that need to be prepped cooking. Probably going to do a cauliflower mincemeat casserole dish. That sounds good. Digit. But also not 100% true. Well, the fact that they are based in California clearly doesn't help too. Bombay show, true. California has some of the worst lockdowns, I think. No. We sort of went overboard with the discussions today. So we didn't have time. Plus, I asked chat if they wanted to do Final Fantasy, and everyone said no, they want to hang out. So we ended up talking about politics, which took a long time. You know how it goes, Enoch. You know how the streams go. Very little that I can do. I have no power over what we talk about. Bullshitting with you? Hey, I love talking to you guys as well. With the water cooler conversations and kills collaboration creativity. I agree with that. Why is Texas a shit show? From everything that I've heard from people moving to Texas, they love it there. Chicken dice. You have to show me that, Germanio. To be fair, the Final Fantasy team already had some people working from home, so they just had to increase what they have. Plus didn't have that, and the US is just a shit with COVID at the start. To be fair, though, the point here isn't that COVID is the reason for the delays. The point is that if everything in Blizzard was working fine, if Blizzard was doing well, COVID would not have introduced the delays that it has. The problem with COVID is that it made everything... So if your company, and this is true for almost every calamity that you could ever suffer, think about economic disasters, think about recessions, depressions, all of this, right? Companies that are already sick tend to die because of massive macro movements that they couldn't plan for. That's what tends to kill them. So when you look at COVID, companies that had their shit in order made very quick fixes and quick moves towards working from home and sort of fixing all that shit. Whereas companies that didn't have their shit together, right? Companies that completely got... companies that had massive issues internally before all of this started, this got completely destroyed by them, right? These companies got wrecked because of COVID. And Blizzard is one of those companies that is currently suffering to try and get back to any sort of workable solution, mainly because they weren't working beforehand. Some big problems inside, but fixing that when people are working from home is not working. The problem is I don't even think they know that they have big problems inside. So even if they didn't work from home, they wouldn't have fixed it. I don't think Blizzard understands the extent of their problems. Graphics Formations don't have such problems. They can do remote from home. Yeah, but graphics and informatics is not the only thing that makes a game. And rich Californians are flooding eastwards because of the housing market, which is affecting it negatively. at the end of the day, if Blizzard wants to fix itself, if Blizzard wants to come back strong, it's gonna have to, it's going to have to dig ridiculously deep. It's going to have to go on a journey of self-discovery, which, yes, is going to piss a lot of players off. But Blizzard will have to realize that, hey, we've got a problem, and we apologize to our players. We're going to take some time. We're going to fix our problems. And yes, it's going to take a lot of fucking time. But the opposite, or the other option you have, is keep going until it dies naturally. Those really are the two options that you have. Maybe this will work out and open their eyes to actually fix this. We can hope. Some people need to get kicked in the ass before trying. It's going to have to ignore American mainstream media, first of all, or Final Fantasy will eat them alive. I don't think the mainstream media has any play on Blizzard, but I do think that Blizzard should start playing Final Fantasy. I think Blizzard should start looking at other MMOs and what do other MMOs do well, and then fix that. However, with that said, I'm now going to have to go look at my voice, because I can literally feel my voice, which you're not supposed to be able to do. But this was 4 hours of a lot of talking. I think we spoke more than what I have in a very long time. I've basically said all of my words that I have available for the day. So thanks to this stream, I'm now going to be quiet for the rest of the day. Because I have no words left. My words have been used up. For tomorrow, for those of you that's interested, and there will be a tomorrow, probably going to talk a little bit more about WoW. And we will almost definitely be playing some Final Fantasy tomorrow, because I know there are people that is interested in the Final Fantasy streams. Plus, I need to do more Final Fantasy because I have to actually get to Heavensward now. Or Heavensward, however the fuck you pronounce that. I was trying to think. I wanted to say something else, but I can't fucking remember. Northern, yes. We've been streaming for 4 hours, so I have to take a break now. Point out that COVID doesn't really affect the development of the game. It's Jack, how you doing, bro? If everything is said right before, I work as a game tester, and my manager said in a call that our team performance is even better than working from home, than at the office. I've heard a lot of people say that. A lot of people believe that, and a lot of people actually have seen better results working from home. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you so much for spending your afternoon or your evening or your morning with me. It is, as always, very much appreciated. Luna, you literally arrived as I'm saying goodbye to everyone. I hope you slept well. I hope that all of you are doing well. I hope all of you are very happy. I wish you only the best for today. If you have anything that you have to go do, something that you've been putting off for a long time, go take that shit, take it by the balls, and fucking get it done. Remember to always take care of yourselves, your loved ones, your family members, and even sometimes the people that you don't like, because without them, the world would not be as fun. Remember, taking care of morons just means that you can laugh at them later. It's literally how it works. So, ladies and gentlemen, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace out, fam. Oh, and watch my video. And the video that I'm going to be uploading now, right after the stream. So I guess you have 2 videos that you have to watch after the stream. But then you can go do whatever the fuck you want. Peace.